I was tempted to just have you go off for like 5 minutes, say nothing, just a 5-minute harmonica solo to start.
Hey now,
just
your
to assert our
boy Adam
dominance on the
Friended
chat.
right here with my good buddy PSA Sitch, ready to suffer
now.
the slings and arrows of our audience. Hassan, when he gets flack in the comments and the chat, what does he do? Ban, motherfucker, ban. What do? We invite
Bam.
you on.
That's right.
It's a completely different outlook.
Gauntlet thrown.
Yeah.
Gauntlet picked up. Yes.
So I interrupted your hey now. Do you want to do a proper hey now for the audience?
Hey now! It's your boy PSA Sitch here with a rare Thursday stream where we're doing a call-in. That's right. Some people were really triggered, really coping, and I'm sure none of those people are actually going to call in because they usually don't. They usually get very mad. They'll leave angry comments, and then they don't call in, and that's fine.
Sitch,
but
what?
For the people that have the cojones to talk to us in person, thank you so much. We do have people that are waiting to talk to us about January 6th stuff, or not January 6th, I'm sorry, Twitter file stuff, and some other topics. So
hold on a second here. There was, an ungodly amount of really negative comments on our last Sunday show. Are you telling me that those people left comments and they're not the ones coming on today?
They're not the ones coming on today. Of course not.
What?
They never.
What? Hold on a second. Why would they not Why would they not take this opportunity to flesh out their arguments in person?
Oh, I can't imagine. I possibly can't think of a single reason, Adam. A single possible reason.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. Fascinating. All right. I guess that the term keyboard warrior is true.
Yes, exactly. But first of all, thank you so much, our surrogate father, Daddy Kitty Mac, for $100. Says, I wish I could stay and listen, but I have a ton of writing to do today. So alas, I must depart. Remember, everyone, try to understand someone's position if you want to better your own arguments. And Adam, taxation is dead.
We love you, J-Mac. We do.
Thank you. And J-Mac with a 50 gifted memberships. Thank you so much.
Well, this is a spillover from Twitter. On Twitter, we were arguing about taxation, whether or not taxation is theft. And my claim is that at some point, taxation is theft. But I don't think you can say all taxation is theft. But I assume, Daddy J-Mac seems to be doing pretty well for himself financially. I'm assuming that for him, he's over that line. That taxation is, in fact, theft at this point. So,
yeah.
Yes. So, okay, cool. Looks like, go ahead.
And thank you, PC, for the 10 gifted memberships. Thank you, PC.
Yes, and I think J-Mac also did 50 gifted memberships. So welcome new members. And I think PC might be coming on as well. So to talk about MMT related stuff. So
not today. You mean at some point in the future?
No, I think he's coming on today. But I mean,
are you sure? He's not on the list.
Okay. Well,
unless he has a different name in Discord.
Okay, that could be the case, but I don't think so. I think he's been in Discord. But yes.
Anyways,
he was the last minute addition, so that's why he's probably not on the list yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
Anyways,
send in
who's first?
The first person.
Right.
CT.
Yes. Now, are we going to do this? Maybe, I mean, J-Mac is right. Maybe we should have them like steel man your argument first to you, and so in a way that you sign off on it. Old school.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah. That's an interesting
thought. So they have to lay out your argument to you in a way that Sitch says, yes, that is my argument. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'll hear the complaint first. So, by the way, and I know you're in here for a second, but before you start, Cheese, I just want to say, everyone, we're going to do it so we have 10 minutes for each person. CT is going to be a dictator. She's going to be the boss. She's going to start throwing us people out.
Yeah.
At the 10-minute mark, so just letting you all know.
We have no control. She's basically Putin to us, so
that's right.
We can't do anything.
This is the point of having a producer. Okay, you need to have someone else be the bad guy.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
But anyway, our first guest today, Cheeseballin'. How you doing? What's up? Can you hear us? Can you speak? I hear nothing. If you're saying anything, we don't hear anything.
Yes. Nothing at all.
Nothing. Cheese.
Well,
Is Cheese AFK?
maybe take him out and put someone new in and see if he
Okay, I
works out
guess
his
we'll
audio.
put Cheese back in the waiting room. Maybe he left. Get a sippy soda. Bring in the
A
next person.
sippy soda. Oh, okay. Cool. Sometimes I need a sippy soda. That's for sure.
There you go. This is how persuasive and powerful my arguments are. Just stun them into silence.
It happens. I mean, it usually
I know.
happens to me about the 6th or 7th hour after streaming, and I'm like, oh god, I'm supposed to be. And then Sitch comes out and he's like going full bore at me, and I'm like, oh, I can't even think. Oh my god, think,
Full
brain
vor
work.
at you? Wait, what?
Yeah,
What do you mean full vor?
full bore. You know, like a
Bore? Oh, bore.
yeah, like
Okay, our second chance here, second guest, bruh moment. How you doing today?
not good.
Is there like a
Maybe this is like a CT issue because some people came in before and they had trouble speaking as well.
Is there
'Cause
do
was
people
some-
not have permission to talk in this voice channel or something? Maybe that's the issue.
Yeah, I don't know. Guess we should have
let's
done a
see.
test. Well, we did a test of
We
this and it worked.
With a random person,
Yes, yeah.
and they were able to talk.
We need to page CT, but I don't know if she can hear. So
If you can hear,
okay, CT, what's going on? She's probably working on it right now.
Draconis, can you speak Draconis?
Hello.
Hello. Oh my. Okay, so it's not the room. Is people just AFK? Is that what's going on? So, how you doing, Draconis?
He apparently didn't have permission to speak or something like that.
Oh, okay. Well, fix it, CT. Whoosh. Anyway, how you doing today? What do you want to talk about?
I'm doing good. Let's see.
You want to tell me how right I am about everything, correct? Me and Adam's completely right about every single opinion we've ever had.
I think the FBI even asking to suppress information is malicious.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean?
Let's say, like, the Twitter files. FBI asked is to suppress the laptop thing. That in and of itself is malicious.
Well, but I would agree if the FBI asked to suppress the laptop, but they didn't. At least we don't have evidence that they did.
You don't think the emails are a smoking gun?
Not for the laptop. I don't know what email are you referring to. I mean, there were emails that showed that their FBI was asking for, well, not the FBI, but there were emails that showed that they were asking to get COVID misinformation taken down. There's emails that showed they were asking to take down certain information about voting misinformation, but there was, to my knowledge, no email that showed the FBI or anyone asking to take down anything regarding Hunter Biden's laptop.
Okay, well, either way, all of that is malicious.
Mm-hmm.
Because the FBI shouldn't be doing that in the first place. It shouldn't be asking Twitter to do anything like that.
Do you think it's okay if the tweet is an actual violation of the law, that they can ask for it to be taken down?
If it was an actual violation of the law, then yeah. But COVID misinformation isn't against the law.
Right. Okay. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think that the CDC or whomever should have been asking Twitter, or not, they weren't asking to take down, well, in some cases they were asked to take down, but most of it would be like, hey, we think this tweet is violating your terms of service. Why don't you go do something about it? Regarding the COVID stuff, I agree with you. I don't think the government should be doing anything related to that. So I agree with that.
Well, the government shouldn't even do that. It shouldn't even say, hey, I think this is against your Twitter.
Yeah, no, I agree when it comes to COVID. Yeah, I agree. I don't think they should have done that.
I'm sorry,
But
speaking isn't really my strong suit.
it's no problem. It's no problem. But
That's okay.
But
Are you nervous?
Is there something you want to talk about?
Well, it seemed like a lot of people. It's interesting because when you came in here, you said, you thought that there was an email that showed that the FBI asked to take the laptop down, and it seems like that, like a lot of people I talked to, seems like that was their impression of the Twitter files, when that's not actually in the Twitter files. So I'm curious as to do you think that is the mainstream? Not the mainstream. Do you think that's most people's interpretation of Twitter files? Is that there's an email in there that is the FBI telling Twitter to remove things regarding Hunter Biden's laptop story?
Yeah, I think that's the impression most people have.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's kind of a big problem with this. Is I think there's been a lot of very politicized bad reporting around the story that's kind of giving people an impression of what's in there that's not actually in the information. Or do you want to say something, Adam?
Well, he's obviously nervous, and I feel like if there's a way that we can break the ice so people aren't as nervous, I'm just like, there's really no reason to be nervous. Well, I guess, it's your first time being on a live stream.
Are sharks fish?
Yeah, see, you gotta be like, are owls birds, or something easy.
Mm-hmm.
But I get
musicals?
it. Look, the first time I went on a live stream, I went on a stream with Bearing, and I was completely just terrified. So, I mean, it gets easier. You gotta break through that.
Sure.
I've done public speaking. Like, nobody wants to do public speaking. It's just, it's terrifying. Once you do it enough times and you realize, okay, well, that didn't kill me, it becomes easier. So that's just a little pep talk for other people that might be nervous coming in.
Hey, why do you think I take a hit every time before I start?
Do you see? That's the thing. It's funny. I never get nervous when I'm live streaming with you. I'm actually looking forward to it. But when I live stream alone, I get super nervous, and then I don't want to do it, but then I force myself to do it, and then I'm fine. I'm totally fine.
That's because you're not used to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did do it for months and months and months. So I thought the same thing. I thought I would get used to it, but I was like,
interesting.
Yeah.
Are you saying that I'm a calming influence on your person?
Well, it's just good. It's good to have a partner in crime, because you're like, if you have if you space out for a second or whatever, you're not like, oh, I'm on a live stream by myself. Or even if you get triggered or heated, or, I got super triggered when I was on that live stream with Isaac. And I mean, I was like, oh my God. Like, he ended up leaving and I was by myself, and I had like a fucking $1,000 of super chats to read. I was like, I'm never going to get through this. I'm a terrible reader, and I'm fucking triggered as fuck. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die here in front of everyone. But anyway, enough. I don't want to take away from your time, Draconis. Do you want to say anything more? Or?
No, not really. I guess I'll go. I'm sorry.
No, don't. It's nothing to apologize for.
It was great,
so, yeah. You did nothing wrong. Never apologize, especially when you do nothing wrong.
Never apologize.
Yeah. Especially to sophists.
Well. Yeah. You were implying that we're sophists, but.
No, I was implying that.
I know.
You shouldn't apologize to sophists.
Right. Okay, so let's see if we got the room situation fixed. CT said she was trying to fix it. I don't know if it was fixed. I
We
don't
got to
know
get
why.
Bearing. We got to get Bearing on the show. Like Bearing live streams and follows me on Twitter. I haven't talked to that guy in forever, but he was
I've
super.
never talked to Bering ever in my life.
Yeah, he was super nice to me, man. He was one of the first content creators that actually gave me a leg up. I did a debate with some feminist, and he listened to that debate and he messaged me. He's like, "Oh my God, this is so good. You got to do a live stream with me." And I was like, "Oh, thanks. Yeah, totally." And I was super
Hello,
nervous.
cheese ballin'. Let's see, is your
Oh,
audio
cheese
working
ballin'.
this time?
Cheese
Can you
ballin's been
guys
on.
hear me now? Can you hear me
Yes,
now?
we
Yes.
can.
This
Hello.
guy's old hat. He's
Sweet.
been on the show before, so.
I have one other time. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good. How are you doing today?
Hey, not too bad. So, I don't think anybody has really voiced my critique. So,
Nice.
my main critique for you, Stitch, is that you're guilty of what you accuse other people of doing in the regards of if they if you just said, listen, I don't see the clear evidence that the FBI kind of did nefarious things or whatever. And then you also didn't say some other dumb things, some inconsistent things, and also were, way more, a little bit more critical toward the FBI, and you have more favoritism to the FBI. If you didn't do all of that, I wouldn't have any critique for you. So let me go through the specifics then that show that.
Thank you. Tell me all the things I said that were wrong.
Okay. So it's mainly with the Facebook, I think, shows some really potential nefarious things. So, well, okay, back up. From the very beginning, I'll show you something that is inconsistent. Now, usually you can point out from Nick Fuentes or a hack like Pac-Man, where they kind of have to do this weaselly roundabout kind of plausible deniability thing with certain things that they want to say, because they want to sound reasonable, but they also want to give their chat what they kind of want. So they got to sort of do this plausible deniability thing. But for the FBI, you kind of play dumb and you act like, well, why would they ever do plausible deniability? Why wouldn't they just overtly do something? And it's just like, well, because they're not going to come out to overtly lie, and then it will get exposed that they were lying about the laptop, because you even said if the places said that the FBI told them, hey, this laptop is propaganda, or hey, ban it, then these people would have come out and said that. So they can't just come out and do that, right? So if they did want to do something nefarious, it would have been something kind of plausible deniability. There wouldn't have been this obvious smoking gun. So from the get-go, you don't really point that out. For other situations, you do point that out. So
Right.
that's
So
my number one.
Well, let me pause you for a second. So you're saying, to make sure I understand, you're saying that the FBI is not going to directly tell Twitter to censor the Hunter Biden laptop story, right?
Right, because it would be a lying on the FAFSA thing all over again. They're not going to want to do that.
Right. Okay. And you're criticizing me because you're saying, okay, I'm putting too much weight on saying that we never see that in the Twitter files. Right. You're saying that we should be looking for sort of more roundabout circumstantial evidence. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
okay. So that's
I understand that, but I also said, because I think you might be sort of correct, and I remember I've conceded this in a conversation with counterpoints. But I also said the issue is that you don't just see, the straight up smoking gun of the FBI asking to have this taken down, but you don't see anyone even suggesting that any of the quote gaslighting campaign, any of the other stories or the FBI meetings or the Aspen Institute meeting about there being a hack and leak operation, we don't see any email reference any of that in regards to the Hunter Biden laptop. And to me, that's very telling. If those meetings actually influenced the Twitter people the way that we're supposed to believe they did, narratively.
Okay, so my main issue is the Facebook. So let me go to this other point. Okay.
Well, but before you go on the other point, do you acknowledge what I'm saying?
Yes, yeah. Okay, so it's mainly with the Facebook, which you did something that is maybe call it Weasley. Okay, so
thank you.
Zuckerberg said two things. One was not so nefarious seeming, and the other one was, and you grouped them together and you highlighted the not so nefarious thing. So Zuckerberg said the FBI told him, hey, stuff happened in 2016, just beware. But also, there's about to be a drop. Okay, that is something very specific. Okay, it's not that there might be, there is going to be. And you didn't want to touch that. You swiveled to they said there's going to be, the stuff happened in 2016. That's a very specific
I don't understand
claim.
what you're referencing. Can you be more specific?
In Zuckerberg said,
You're talking about when he was on Joe Rogan?
Yeah, he said the FBI told him, hey, there's stuff that happened in 2016, and just, be aware of that. But also there's about to be a Russia propaganda dump. So stay vigilant. Okay, you don't really focus on that. What was that Russia propaganda dump? You say, well, what does it matter because it happened in the summertime and then the laptop? Well, you're presupposing that the FBI would have known exactly when this dump was going to happen. So then when they said that to Zuckerberg, then it would have been, it happened 2 weeks out from a drop, then maybe that's nefarious. Well, they don't have to do that just 2 weeks before something drops. So what was the drop that never happened in the summer? Like, where was that drop? I don't remember a propaganda drop happening in summer.
Did you watch the last couple of streams?
Yeah.
Because we talked, not about this in relation to the Facebook thing, but in terms of, so the FBI had conversations with Facebook and Twitter where they both talked about the potential of near election. Even this is what Zuckerberg was talking about, near the election.
Okay, you're obfuscating. They told Zuckerberg there's going to be,
yeah,
not there might be. No, they didn't say
they said that there was with 100% certainty going to be a hack leak operation.
They told them, yes, there's going to be. They didn't say there might be. They said there was going to be.
I have to find the transcript.
So stay vigilant.
So first of all, you have to take back. You understand that I don't remember the exact language used in this conversation on Joe Rogan. So you can't accuse me of obfuscating to say. Wait a minute. You can't accuse me of being dishonest if I don't remember. First of all, I don't believe this, and I'll look up to find the clip. But I don't. If the FBI said to Mark Zuckerberg with 100% certainty, there will be a drop. Okay, that's me not remembering the exact conversation from Joe Rogan from like last year. It's not me intentionally being dishonest.
But when you were attacking it, you looked for the thing that wasn't very nefarious looking, and then you smushed. But I was highlighting the specific claim, and so. And then we can get into, some other inconsistent things that you said, because when I questioned about, them doing it nefariously, you were acting like, the government's supposed to be smart. Like if they told people to ban this or ban that, why wouldn't they do it with this story? And then you were like, well, how could they have acted smart? They didn't know that, Twitter was going to get bought by Elon. And it's like you just contradicted yourself because you've been saying, listen, if the Twitter or Facebook got told to them, do something specific, they would have been blaming the FBI. So you're trying to have it both. Those are contradictory things.
So I found the transcript. So Zuckerberg says, the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team. It was like, hey, just so you know, like you should be on high alert. There was, we thought there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that there's basically about to be some kind of dump on that's similar to that. So just be vigilant. So our protocol is different from Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share that at all. We didn't do that. We do is we have, if something's reported as potentially misinformation.
And he highlights that as saying, well, I want to take things seriously. So he throttled it. So you have a direct connection from what the FBI told him and what his action was and throttled it. So they did have influence about them throttling it. They took that and they throttled it directly because of what the FBI told them.
So I'll agree with you that, well, at least the way that Zuckerberg phrased it, the way he's remembering it, he makes it sound like it was more definitive, not the potential. I would be very surprised if the FBI said exactly, we know with 100% there's going to be a drop, as opposed to just
that's important, isn't that? That's huge. He said there's going to be something. You can't. Who's going to mix that up? If they told him was, hey, there was stuff in 2016, so be aware.
I think it's
be.
I think it's incredibly easy, first of all, for someone who's especially not used to public speaking, nervously going on Joe Rogan and not using the exact fucking language.
This is so pathetic. You're slanting. You're slanting it in favor of the FBI.
It's about to be. It's completely irrelevant. This is
not enlightened centrism.
This is very pedantic that you're fixating on this, but
it's
not even relevant. I'm trying to answer the question.
Oh my gosh.
I can't answer it if you keep interrupting. Okay. So to answer the question, as I said, you are correct in that the language he uses is far more affirmative than I remember. Okay. However, I'm just skeptical that the FBI would ever tell Facebook or Twitter something so directly.
It's because you're acting biasly in this. This is your bias. Okay, because you just came in here and you're like, Sitch, how do you not understand? The FBI is not going to directly tell them to censor the Twitter, Hunter Biden story. But then you stupidly think that the FBI is going to directly tell Facebook or Twitter, hey, we know with 100% certainty that there's going to be a Russian link here. That's the same way. Stop interrupting me. Stop interrupting me, or we're going to kick you out of the call. Okay.
Whoa. Let's all just.
Because no, you're the one that's being hypocritical, and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Because you're in one breath, you're saying it's ridiculous that the FBI would go to Twitter and directly tell them something, and then I'm trying to explain to you, but you keep interrupting me, that I think it would be ridiculous for the FBI to directly say, we know with 100% certainty that the Russians are going to leak something now, because that's essentially the same fucking thing. So if you'd actually let me finish, you'd understand that I'm trying to fucking agree with you, only you don't want that because you just want to call me out on something because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
No, can I talk now?
Yeah, you can talk now.
Okay, so you changed the words to 100% certainty. I'm not saying that's what they said. I'm saying that they said, hey.
You said when you came in here, you said there's a big difference between them saying it could drop and it's going to drop.
But that doesn't mean 100% certainty.
Oh my God! Okay, listen. If you're not gonna have like a modicum, a smidge of charity in this conversation, I don't know why I'm wasting my fucking time.
Here, let me explain. Let me explain the mix-up here. If they said, "Hey, there's about to be a drop," that could mean, well, we got some intel. That it might be wrong though, but if they're relying upon it and then they're gonna say it, well, it could have been like, hey, we're WMDs all over again, right? They could have used intel.
Okay, first of all, I don't know what the point is of arguing over the difference between saying, well, there's about to be a drop and we're 100% certain there's going to be a drop. To me, I don't even know why you're even.
You don't see the difference.
It's completely irrelevant to the fucking conversation.
I can kind of see a difference, but if you don't, that's fine.
Okay. I don't mean it to have any difference the way I said it. So it's a waste of time to talk about it. But secondly, to get back to what's actually important, to what you were asking about, and what everyone's asking about, it's why I asked you to watch the last two streams, and why I don't understand why you asked this question, is everyone says, why was the FBI warning Twitter, Facebook about this potential or definitive, depending on what they said, hack and leak operation from Russia? Why are they doing it? It must be because they had the laptop. And I said, well, no, it's because the Russians literally just hacked Burisma in January and December during the impeachment of Donald Trump, and everyone expected that they were going to release information regarding Hunter Biden from the Burisma emails. Everyone expected that. So that's probably what they were warning about, not this laptop conspiracy, at least in my opinion. And there's no evidence that it is from the laptop.
Okay, so first of all, I don't even think you even know my argument. I can be swayed off that I'm not even saying that they definitively did things nefariously. I think they did things that they shouldn't have done. But what I'm saying is that you've been kind of inconsistent, right? But also that I can be moved off of them doing something nefarious if they drill in and say, hey, what did those FBI agents tell you? Did they say that there was about to be a drop? More information on that. If there's nothing there, and if it was all just what you're saying, I'm completely fine to concede that. But that's a huge deal. What is being said in the Facebook interaction is completely different than what's in Twitter.
Listen, I've always said from the beginning of this clip coming out, I said, hey, the Republicans, when they get in the power, they should subpoena Mark Zuckerberg and ask him
Yes, and
questions.
I'm completely
I think they
on
might
the
have
same
actually.
page.
Didn't he testify about this recently, or am I mixing up
I
his
don't
other
think
congressional testimonies?
I haven't heard anything.
So I don't know. I'll blame the Republicans for not getting the bottom of that interaction, or really anyone. I mean, why haven't any journalist asked him for comments on this stuff?
That is quite well. I mean, I can understand why. It's mainly because it looks bad for the left. So
well, no, but I mean, like, you know, Matt Taibbi, Michael Schellenberg, you know.
Well, I mean, they're tied up with the Twitter, but yeah, I would like more focus on the Facebook interaction. And then there are a couple different points that I wanted to get through, and I know I don't have much time, but also, if you think about them having that laptop, them priming, and then they find out nothing really happens, but the thing that does happen is the thing that they have had. So I'm completely fine for you to make that point about, hey, we're not going to say that the Washington Post story talked about the year, and you don't point that out. You don't act like the FBI should have said that part.
Wait.
Cheeseballin', you were like well over your time though. That's the problem.
Okay, well, I'll answer this question and you can go. So wait,
Okay.
the question was, you're asking why didn't the FBI tell Facebook and Twitter that they had a copy of the laptop?
No, the public.
Why would they tell the public then?
Because they've been priming everybody, and they've been you would think the public deserves that.
That's your wait. It's your opinion. They've been priming people. Okay, that's not an evidence, right?
Well, I mean, they no, that's not an opinion. They did. You just think it was for good cause.
Wait. So when you say priming people, you mean priming that there'd be a potential leak, not that the Hunter Biden laptop was the leak.
Well, they're never going to say that specifically.
Well, okay, wait. I'm just trying to. Okay, you were David here saying that I'm not being neutral, and I'm trying to give the most neutral interpretation of events so that I could focus on the specific point you're making, but you're bleeding over into other areas. That's not proven.
Points, and I don't have enough.
It's not
10 minutes is not enough time
at all that the FBI was gaslighting people about the Hunter Biden laptop. That is your opinion, and that is the unsubstantiated opinion of other people as well.
I'm saying it's not going to be direct. And something that you just said, or before, I want to make a quick point. You said it would have been stupid for them to say that there's going to be a dump if they were referring to the Hunter Biden. And it's like you're then giving them no ways to act nefariously, but with plausible. There's literally no way they can.
No, I said it would be stupid for them to say we know there's going to be a dump, not that there could be a dump. Because that would make it even more. That would lead into the conspiracy of it being suspicious.
But how would they then be able to prime them if they don't get to say that?
They would say, well, they think there could possibly be a dump. Expect a dump. There might be a dump. Not that we know.
Well, I mean, I don't.
This is weird. I don't know why we're wasting. I don't know why we're wasting.
I don't see much of a difference between saying there might be a dump or there is going to be a dump.
What are you talking about? That was your complaint was to come in here and say I was lying because I mixed up these two things in my memory.
I didn't say you were lying. I never said you were lying.
You said you said I was being a weasel. I was obfuscating.
I said it could be. I didn't use definitive language.
It either matters or it doesn't matter. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I'm saying that it doesn't matter. Like in my mind, you're putting so much focus on saying, no, if they would have done it, it would have only been in this very hyper-specific way of just using if there might be, or there might be. And I'm not making that distinction. I kind of see them not too distinguishable.
Okay, well, I guess you've been well over your 10 minutes, but thank you for coming on.
Wow, that was amazing.
Until the next time.
Wow, that was amazing. That was incredible. Sitch, you got a little hot there.
Never.
I won't tell. Your secret is safe with me. So.
Okay, thank you. Anyways, I forgot what he asked second question, and then he brought back to the first question. So I don't even remember what it was anymore.
I was guilty of playing with the fire filter a bit, so I didn't really hear the intro of the conversation.
What's the fire filter?
On my computer, you know how I
Fire.
Yeah, it looks like I'm on fire in the video.
Oh, your graphic.
Soon you'll be able to do fun things like.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
what's
what's up?
Bra moment?
Hello, brah moment.
We see you in the chat
Hey,
all
how's
the
it going,
time.
guys?
What's up?
Before I want to start, I just want to say A-Team does, in fact, reign supreme.
Yes, that's what we like to hear.
Kick him from the call right now.
Now you have to go easy on him.
So-
Look, you have to be nice to him now, okay, Sitch?
Yeah, that was a bit contentious. So I want
But
to.
it was good content, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, it was. It was indeed, yes. So, on Sunday, you kept making this claim that, what was it? That you kept saying that, like, oh, because we didn't see any of the, like, oops. You said because we didn't see any of the, what was it? Any emails or something that
The
when they
smoking
referenced.
gun. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you kept bringing up that like you didn't see any emails involving like oh, we didn't mention or reference the FBI when we were making our decision to censor the Hunter Biden story.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a bit flawed because in reality, there's like I don't know how much, but there are a lot of former FBI employees in Twitter. Basically, when you're making a decision like that, and the FBI comes and like influences, like kind of primes you to say, hey, there's gonna be a Russian misinformation leak coming around this time. I feel like if you have former FBI employees in the Twitter, they will also like corroborate with that and say like, hey, actually they're right, and they don't have to put any of that in writing or an email. So that's what because you kept saying like, oh, there's no emails them referencing the FBI. It's literally because they have the FBI in their backyard. It's like we have the FBI at home, pretty much.
Right. So you think they were maybe talking the FBI? There, to my knowledge, there were two, maybe more. There were two employees that used to be FBI agents. There was Jim Baker and Elvis Chan. Right.
I believe there was more.
Mm-hmm.
There was
right.
Well, there's a couple of them.
Right. Well, regardless. Okay, so you're saying that you think that they were. Are you saying that you think that they were priming the other employees verbally, so that wouldn't be in emails? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, because there is a few FBI employees like Matthew Williams. I believe Yoel Roth was a FBI.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, he wasn't. Oh, okay. Never mind. Sorry about that. But it was James Comey. It was Jeff Carlton.
Comey didn't work for Twitter. What do you mean? No. Jim Baker. So Jim Baker, who was like one of the head lawyers at Twitter, was a lawyer at the FBI, and Elvis Chan, I believe, worked at the FBI and then worked for Twitter. But anyway, regardless. So, I mean, in theory, you could be correct that there were some FBI agents that primed everyone verbally, and none of it came out in emails. I would be, a little skeptical that, I would well, I don't know, because on one hand, you have these emails of these employees discussing with their superiors about whether the story, Hunter Biden laptop story, should be, put on Twitter or not. And in a lot of these big companies, they don't have these face-to-face meetings anymore, the way we did back in the day. A lot of these companies, you literally only talk to your superiors and have these meetings entirely through email as much as they can help it. And so I don't know, I would be very surprised if it was actually, I wouldn't expect Elvis Chan or Jim Baker, the FBI agents, to mention it, obviously, if they're part of this, conspiracy. But the other employees, if they were affected by what the former FBI agents are saying, or even the current FBI, I would have thought that they would say, hey, not hey, the FBI told us the story was fake, but hey, the FBI had been warning us for a year that there'd be a Russian hack and leak operation. This must be it, or this is it. Like, the fact that we don't see that, to me, seems highly suspicious, that wasn't really the influence on them.
Well, see, I don't necessarily agree with that, because the FBI is telling people, and they have former FBI employees telling people that hey, there's going to be this big Russian leak and this big Russian hack coming. And then you see this Hunter Biden story, which is obviously in the favor of the Republicans.
Right.
And it's in their political interest. and you see 51 former FBI employees sign a letter saying, "Hey, this has all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation."
Right.
So it's like it's not like it's like kind of saying like, "Oh, we don't know exactly what it is," but it's like a giant elephant sitting like right in front of you. It's like it's kind of like not like most, kind of disingenuous to say like, "Oh, we don't know exactly what it is or what's going on here."
Right.
So
Well, two things. First of all, do you have I think you need to change the batteries in your smoke detector.
oh, sorry, it's my chair. It's kind of squeaky.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. But no, the second thing is, well, okay, so do you think it's possible that the FBI was warning Twitter and Facebook about, in good faith, about a potential, what they believe would be a potential hack and leak operation, not related to the laptop story, and then when the laptop story comes out, there could be confusion from Facebook and Twitter that they thought that maybe that was the story they're talking about when that was not what the FBI was talking about. Do you think that's possible?
So you're saying that like in good faith they're like, "Oh, hey, there might be a story coming out," and then the Hunter Biden laptop comes out and they're like, "Oh, that must be it." Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, what I'm saying is like, so do you think it's possible that the FBI, they saw that the Russians hacked Burisma, so they thought, hey, this is going to be, they might leak that, so they're warning FBI, the FBI's warning Facebook and Twitter, and then the Hunter Biden story kind of comes out, and it coincidentally lines up maybe in Facebook and Twitter's minds, and they confuse that, and that was not really what the FBI was ever talking about.
Well, I don't agree with that either, because the thing is,
I'm just asking, do you think it's possible?
Well, do I think that's possible? Not really. No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't think.
Interesting.
I don't think so. Because
Why?
Because the thing is, I don't know if this is a topic switch. You could stop me if I do switch a topic. But if this was like the so-called Russian leak, like, none of this was misinformation. The FBI had the laptop and all its contents, so they could easily come out to the public and say, "Hey, this is actually not Russian misinformation, but how they obtained it was sketchy." That was the whole criteria for censoring it, was because it was Russian misinformation.
Well, there's two things. First of all, I've never, to my knowledge, the FBI doesn't usually ever try to confirm, a story that's being reported in the news unless it's directly about the FBI. Like they always say no comment about open investigations or whatever. So I wouldn't expect them to come out and verify the Post story. And then the second thing is, even if they were going to do that, to my knowledge, Rudy Giuliani didn't have the hard drive. He had like an iOS or whatever it's called. He had like a copy of the hard drive.
Yeah, I'm familiar. He had a copy
of
the hard drive.
Right. And there were some concerns because people were like, well, how do we know that that's, the full copy? How do we know it hasn't been tampered with? So the FBI wouldn't put themselves on the hook and say this is legitimate without looking through whatever version the New York Post had, right?
So you're saying they want to verify the contents of Rudy Giuliani's hard drive?
Well, if you're asking them to verify it, I mean, they would have to verify the specific version that he had. Mm-hmm. They couldn't just say we have a version of the laptop.
Well, I disagree with that either, because the thing is, what you're saying is right. They couldn't verify all the contents of his hard drive, but they could verify specific things that have come out to the media about the information about the laptop.
They never do that about anything, though. It's not really the FBI's job.
Well, the reason why we're talking about this is because it's a very special and specific case. Mm-hmm. Because they're censoring a story around, two political rivals, which could sway the election. This is like a very particular case that's going on here. It's not like, just some everyday information psyop leak, Yeah,
but it'd be like, so Twitter and Facebook decide to censor this story. It'd be very bizarre if then unprompted, the FBI says, hey, at least, we have some laptop that has some of this information. Twitter and Facebook shouldn't store it. To me, that would be like wild. That would basically lead to accusations that Donald Trump leaned on the FBI to help his presidency if the FBI went and did something so blatant like that.
So you're saying if Trump went out and said, or if the FBI went out and said, hey, this information is actually true, you would think people will say Trump, was leaning or pressuring
Oh
the
yes,
FBI.
100%. That's what they would say. Yeah.
Well, I disagree with that too, because there really, if there's no evidence that comes out of that, and then it shouldn't really matter. Like, correct? It should just be one of those another false claim.
Well, I mean, there might. It depends what the scenario is, because it would be, you're saying there wouldn't be no direct evidence, but it would be like the Twitter files thing. You say, well, hey, Donald Trump told his appointed FBI head in person, so there wouldn't be a chain, right? There would be no written evidence anywhere.
So you're saying like they'll kind of be like, oh, they all did handshakes, secret winks,
Of course,
elbows,
which is kind of the complaint about with the Hunter Biden laptop story. It was all a wink off the off the record. I mean, but we're getting off track. So going back to the original question you asked about, and I know that we're limited for time here.
Yeah, we're a bit over. Yeah.
Going back to the original question, I think the problem is it is possible, of course, that the FBI agents, Elvis Chan, Jim Baker, whoever, had these off-record verbal communications with Twitter employees that we'll never, ever find out about and could never find out about. I'm skeptical of that, but even if I were to be less skeptical of it, we'd still exist in a scenario where we could never prove it. And so I think that's just the realm we'd have to exist in, where we just say, well, we don't have any evidence of it so far, period, and just end it there.
So, well, I guess, but have I made a bit of a persuasive headway into this kind of like the realm of kind of like this information, or like kind of like the other side?
You had me at A-Team reigns supreme, man. I think you made a very persuasive argument here.
Yes.
But like what I'm saying is, like, you have something that's like very like once in a lifetime. Well, not once in a lifetime, but very rare occurrence that's going on between two political rivals. And like, to say the FBI can't confirm this information, whether it's true or not, like, and then just unanimously censor the story.
Yeah.
Like throughout Facebook and Twitter.
Well, okay. So I'll just say, and then we'll bid you adieu. I'll just say to close, I don't see a world in where I don't see a situation where I've ever seen the FBI unprompted verify a story that news organizations are trying to figure out whether it's true or not. And I don't think that's the place for the FBI to do it, especially if it's a very politically partisan story. I think that'd be a huge overstep for the FBI, especially since the FBI was nervous because in 2016, Comey came out and he said what he said about Hillary Clinton and her laptop, or not her laptop, the Anthony Weiner's wife's laptop. And a lot of people saw that as the FBI affecting the election in 2016. So this would be seen as like, holy shit, the FBI is like putting their finger on the scale again in 2020. It would be such like a huge scandal if they came out and said that. So I don't agree. But thanks for coming.
Well, I agree to disagree, but sorry about the fire alarm too. Skip you, chat.
Good talking.
I see the chat just complaining about the fire alarm.
Yes.
Suck it up, suckers.
Thanks for coming on.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
See you later.
Do have you heard absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence? Have you heard that before?
Yeah, and that can be fair-ish.
Mm-hmm.
That is true-ish. There is some truth to that, but there's also counter-truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you not agree? Do you not agree with the dogs not barking Sherlock Holmes concept?
Well, I mean, there should be overwhelming evidence of this. Yeah, I think in some cases.
No.
But
That's not. No.
I don't know that applies here.
So saying that the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence, right? Or
right.
whatever the phrase is.
You're saying
that
just because we don't have concise evidence that this is the case doesn't mean it's not the case.
Right. However,
you're saying the dog's not barking is basically that there should be overwhelming evidence, but there isn't.
Exactly. Well, not overwhelming, but just there should be some evidence. There should be literally some evidence.
But
right?
we're in a particularly strange situation here because you're dealing with law enforcement who should be good at hiding their evidence.
Yeah, but
I
it's
mean, they
not.
should
But this
be
is
experienced
everyone's
at covering
okay.
shit up. So,
But you and everyone are fixating the wrong thing. I'll
I'm not
acknowledge.
fixated. Like, I could care less about this.
Okay.
Honestly.
Well, no. In what you just said, fixates on the wrong thing.
Okay.
Because yeah, I agree and acknowledge that the FBI could be smart enough or covert enough that they wouldn't be so direct. But that's not really the narrative. Isn't that the FBI directly told Facebook or Twitter to censor the story anymore? That used to be the narrative, and then we found out that we don't have evidence of that. So the narrative changed. The narrative is that they basically gaslit these companies by consistently talking about the fear of a hack and leak operation coming towards the election. That's the narrative.
And
so I'm saying, why don't we see from the Twitter employees, not from the FBI, why don't we see from the Twitter employees who are not seasoned FBI people, who shouldn't be talking in covert terms, why don't we see them mentioning any of that stuff in their communications?
Well, I'm saying, I think if I was in the FBI's position, I could gaslight people into doing whatever I want. So and cover my tracks doing it. So that's part of my
Yeah, but you could
bias.
cover your tracks, but you can't cover someone else's tracks.
Yeah. No, I'd make them think it was their idea. We have a new guest.
Hello.
Meh.
Hello, Meh. What's up?
Meh.
Yes. That.
Meh.
I am afraid that I'm shifting the goalposts even further.
Oh
Good.
no.
Go even further beyond.
I'll help you here. Where are we moving these?
I could go even further.
So, it's interesting because my position is actually, I am going to drop the gaslight altogether and I'm going to focus on something else, which is the fact that the FBI positioned themselves in a area where all of this nebulous nature is even in content, like between two parties saying, hey, it sounds like this is happening, is in and of itself a bad action by the FBI. And that they are putting themselves in a framework of, hey, I'm not going to try and apply intent to this. I'm looking at liability. I'm just saying, hey, you should know better. You've been in an organization for 100 years. You've got communications that are one-way direction that self-delete after a period of time. And you've got internal workings that had to be released in order to even figure out that there was something to begin with. The fact that the FBI did this without going through other channels, which they do have, right? If you wanted to have the FBI take down something, you can actually file a court request or something along those lines. But going directly to Twitter and requesting these things without, public transparency is a bad enough thing that I would say that it warrants looking at them in a different light.
So let me see if I understand what you're saying. You're saying that even if we were to grant that innocence or good faith on the FBI, just the fact that they're communicating with Facebook and Twitter in these ways, in ways that we don't see, creates this image of conspiracy, and that they shouldn't do it just for that sake alone. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and I'd even take it a little step further and say that they should know better because there are conspiracies going around and they have a bad rap. They have a bad history. If we were to actually look at them as if they were a convict, they've been convicted like 20 times and then found lying and perjuring and doing all sorts of things.
Right.
So the fact that even in today's light and with the nature that we have it, the fact that they're still doing these things is bad.
I agree with you. I think I agree with you 100%. I think especially after this incident, even though I don't think we've seen evidence of them gaslighting with the Hunter Biden stuff, even if they're completely innocent and they're doing everything in good faith, just the fact that I agree with you, just the fact that this happened and the narrative can form around this shows that yes, we do need to have a completely different system, one where either the FBI only interacts with Twitter about illegal information and that's it, or if they are going to interact with Twitter, Facebook, or any, not even the FBI, but any government agency, whether it be the CDC, whether it be the White House, whether it be anyone, if they're going to interact with these companies and ask for things to be taken down or point out TOS violations, it should all have to be completely made public and been done openly so that everyone can see what's happening. So no, I think I agree with you completely.
All right then. So I guess I'll hit you with a different set, which is
Awesome.
I noticed there was something that did disturb me on your Sunday live stream, which
Okay.
was the second time you had watched it through. I think Jim Jordan was saying
Mhm.
something along the lines of he was even looking into something in terms of the Black Lives Matter, and then I think you made a comment that was just like, "Oh, look at that! He's even doing something when it, benefits him." But I actually dug a little bit deeper into that one, and it turns out like there were a lot of reports, and I think there was even like a podcast that got released recently that was talking about there was a potential FBI plant who was actually just inciting violence in the Black Lives Matter protests. And
What
I
did he
think
say? Do
that,
you remember what he said? Because I don't remember exactly what he said. I kind of vaguely remember he said something about like FBI and being in the BLM or something.
yeah, I don't have the exact quote, but I
Hmm.
think that there is, merit to him saying he's trying to do something, on both sides of the aisle. And I think that the immediate outrage that came from you was more so like, hey, maybe we should double check on that before we immediately just call him out for not doing a two-sided thing. Because I agree with your point though that he's probably doing this because it benefits him in the moment, but it wasn't necessarily a bad faith argument in the moment.
So I'm not familiar with. So you're saying that you recall that there was an FBI plant in BLM that was making BLM behave violently? Is that what was the
Yes,
claim?
yes, actually. God, I wish I had the podcast. I could
Because I
probably look it
remember,
up in
like,
Google search.
I remember at the time, there's all these videos of like, there's, oh, the brick pile. Why is there a brick pile? And look, the guy with the hammer. And there's all this accusation that they were from the FBI, but I don't remember anything ever definitively coming out about any of that stuff.
I think it's not necessarily definitive. I was talking
Hmm.
about just recently. There was like a podcast that came out that was talking
Interesting.
about it. And the interesting thing is one of the things was like one person in particular. He was like some crazy dude who had some kind of military background, and he was like really riling people up, trying to sell them guns, etc. I've got to look into the
Hmm.
story, so take all of this with like a grain of
Sure.
salt, but
Sure.
like
Right.
a lesser grain of salt because it
Well,
is. I
mhm.
remember reading it,
Well,
and
to
I
be
well,
fair, to be fair to Jim Jones, I'm thinking about it now. I don't remember exactly what he said. I might have misunderstood what he was saying because I guess if he was suggesting that he was claiming the FBI planted someone in BLM who would create violence, who'd do violence to try to get BLM violent, he would be saying, oh, he'd be kind of defending BLM. He'd be giving kind of the left wing, talking point that, oh, BLM was only violent because the FBI like tricked them into being violent, which, I mean, to me, it sounds ludicrous, but that would be what he'd be trying to say if that is what he was saying. So,
and if you want the even crazier thing, like all of this to me is actually more so of a red herring from the other stuff the FBI is actually doing. Like the inciting of violence is there. So a crazy exercise. Oh, and the recent cases with them, like having 10 FBI agents and like or eight FBI agents, a group of 10 people inciting these guys to go commit like or plan an assassination of a court or a judge or something along those lines. But this is an exercise I did. I went to ChatGPT 4. I typed in FBI instances of colluding with government and whatever the hell else, corruption. And
yeah.
then it started just listing out things. And so
Uh-huh.
I went in, Google searched each one of those instances, and I was like, I'll be damned. I'll be damned. Like,
There you
I
go.
didn't even know this, but like in 2013, like there was a FOIA request requested on the, what is it? It was a big like business 2013 Capitol protest, or not Capitol protest, but big business anti-big business protest, where
Hmm.
somebody was like, hey, they were planning some counterintelligence tactics on these people, and they requested a FOIA request, and the FBI said, oh, we gave you everything, but they didn't give them everything. They literally
Right.
just lied and said, hey, we're
Right.
withholding
Right.
information, and it
I'm sure
happens
that happens
so
a
much.
lot.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. Oh, though I'd be curious. I'm trying to understand, like, so what would be, because the narrative is that the FBI wants Donald Trump to lose the election. So I would have thought that why would they want BLM to be violent? Because I would have thought that would actually help
Oh,
the Republicans if that was the
that's a
case.
perverse incentive thing, I think. Like when I listen to people talk about issues with the FBI, it has mostly
Hmm.
been that there is a big incentive to have a big story breakout. You're the guy who took down this extremist group. And so people are getting closer and closer and closer to literally just handing people guns and telling them go shoot up this place, and then arresting them right before they do it, so that they can get like commendations for terrorism, counter-terrorism acts.
Well, I mean that argument makes sense with the Whitmer, is that her name? The Whitmer kidnapping thing.
Yeah.
To me that wouldn't make sense with BLM because, I mean, if the FBI like arrested some chapter of BLM, a bunch of people, like that would look so bad publicly because it'd be like, oh my God, we were back in the 1970s or the 1960s, with the Red Scare, the FBI's cracking down on BLM. Like that would not look good for them publicly to do that.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you on that one. I'd have to do a little bit more digging to be able to actually get to the meat of why I think the issue is. But I think I'm out of time. So
okay. Well, thanks for coming on.
Always welcome.
Nice. Okay. Who's the next one, CT? I like that CT's name is just an angry face.
No, I didn't realize that you were actually like kicking the person out like on time this time. Okay, I'll go get the next one. BRB.
Thank you. Why am I doing all the talking?
What do you mean? You're doing great.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm agnostic on this, so
okay.
I don't necessarily know what.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up?
How are y'all?
Good. How are you? The great AJC.
That's correct. I'm doing pretty well. I'm coming to you guys from in DC. I'm under the FBI building right now at the Twitter headquarters where they're running their operation. So I have the documents, but
make sure you're not bugged right now.
Well, no doubt. But so Sitch, my understanding of your position is essentially that the FBI, we have no explicit evidence they instructed Twitter or to censor the story, right?
I would say that, and I don't think there's good evidence that they, intentionally gaslit them to censor the Hunter Biden laptop story either.
Okay. I think I'm going to take the position that I think from surmising all the evidence, we can sort of imply what happened with a very high level of confidence. That the
you
FBI,
are talking like an FBI agent. Look at you.
So the FBI anticipated the release of the laptop, and they primed Twitter to anticipate a hack and release story. And I think we both agree on that.
No, I don't agree on that.
So you disagree that Twitter was anticipating a hack and release story?
You mean the FBI? Oh, no. I agree that Twitter was anticipating something. I don't believe it was the FBI priming them with the anticipation that the Hunter Biden laptop would leak.
Your mic is a little low. Can you turn your mic up or move closer to your mic just so we can hear you a little bit better?
How's that?
Yeah, much better. Yeah.
All right, sweet. So, anticipating. I think that the FBI was definitely anticipating the Hunter Biden laptop in particular dropping. I think we're all aware of that.
Well, I don't agree with that, but I understand that's your position. But continue.
Okay. And then I would definitely say it's that Twitter anticipated a hack and leak. But I'm not saying it specifically had to be the Biden story for them to be primed for that particular the censoring of that story.
Right, from Twitter's perspective, yeah, obviously they wouldn't know what it would be.
Right, and so I think that if the FBI was interfacing with Twitter, it looks like they sort of built this apparatus for Twitter and the FBI to communicate, to take down certain content. I think that the FBI then saying, "Hey, hack and release is going to be an issue here," is actually the FBI overstepping their bounds. And so I think that sort of them instructing Twitter to be on the lookout for these hack and release stuff is already like a breach.
Right. I mean, you could be correct. I mean, it's very possible. Now, again, I haven't seen evidence of it, which to me is kind of shocking. But it's very possible that, as I said with the other caller, that, in good faith, the FBI was warning them about a hack and leak. And then it just was a coincidence that the Hunter Biden laptop came out when it did. and then it confused Twitter and Facebook into acting that way. That's very possible that some scenario like that happened. And if something like that did happen, it would suggest that there needs to be some sort of complete reformation process on how the FBI talks to Twitter and Facebook about these sorts of things to prevent, the wires from being crossed about that stuff.
Right, because the concern is whether Twitter doing this can be considered state action.
Well, that's a concern. To me, that's not the issue with the Hunter Biden thing. But I think an argument someone can make that I haven't really heard anyone make, which would be a good argument, is if the FBI is going to tell Twitter and Facebook, if they're going to tell Twitter and Facebook that there's a potential for there to be a Russian hack and leak operation near the election time, then maybe that means that the FBI should also be responsible for very quickly answering Twitter and Facebook's questions if they say, hey, is this the operation you're talking about? So if they said, hey, FBI, is this Hunter Biden laptop what you're talking about? That it is completely immoral and unjustified for the FBI, after warning them, to say no comment.
Well, of course, but I think it's actually like a de facto violation of the First Amendment already, because it's content-based censorship. If the FBI has this, they're heavily intertwined in Twitter with this way, and Twitter's used to conducting operations on behalf of the FBI, then it looks like that the FBI approaching Twitter and saying, "Hey, you have to censor. You might want to censor content of this particular type." Nudge, nudge. I think that would be a violation of the First Amendment by the.
Well, are you saying that them pointing out tweets that they say we think this violates your TOS, you're saying that's a violation, not just warning a potential hack and leak is a violation of the First Amendment?
I think the warning of the potential hack and leak is a violation because I don't think the FBI can defend that action under the First Amendment. Like if there was a hack and leak in India and the local papers there ran a story and then the New York Post picked it up and it was all misinformation, it would be a violation of the FBI to approach the New York Times and say, "Hey, we need you to take that story down."
Well, it would be for them to say to take it down. It wouldn't be for them to say we think this was a hack and leak, right?
Yeah, and so that's where there is no explicit evidence, but the thing is, because hack and leak information is a content category in and of itself, approaching another entity and suggesting how the FBI doing this, approaching another entity and suggesting how they should handle it, is a violation of the First Amendment. Agencies can't go to private entities and tell them things and not expect to maybe be charged with having created a rule or a law, right?
So let's say hypothetically the FBI, gets wind that China is going to create, they hacked Donald Trump's laptop or Donald Trump Jr.'s laptop, and they also added a bunch of fake shit in it to make Donald Trump look really bad. And the FBI knows this. You don't think the FBI should warn, Twitter, Facebook, or newspapers, anyone about this? They should just be silent.
So I think it's because of the way that the apparatus existed in this particular case that makes it egregious. Although I could agree with that maybe. But in this case, you have, the FBI having to pay huge amounts for the man hours that they're consuming. They've got all these private channels. The FBI members have their own particular access portal to Twitter. So I don't think that this is just them coming and warning. And Adam sort of hinted to this in the stream. He said, "Oh, well, it doesn't need to be so explicit because these guys all have TDS." And so because of this relationship that's been formed, I think it's pretty clear to draw the inference that that action's improper since it resulted in the harm of this story being censored.
That's exactly right. I would use their TDS against them. That's how I would gaslight them.
I understand, but as no one is addressing, why do none of the emails reference any of the hack and leak stuff at all?
I mean, they do. So, the Twitter employees are unsure about using the hack material policy, right, to even ban the story. They're
No, but I mean, how come none of them say, "Hey, the FBI was telling us there would be a hack and leak. Maybe this is it." That never shows up in any of the emails that we see.
Do they even mention Trump? or the ramifications of burying the story or not burying the story?
I don't believe so.
Well, it's clear that they're considering it a hack and leak, right?
Yeah, the question is it hacked or is it gotten through the guy in the computer shop? That's what they're arguing, but none of them say, "Hey, is this maybe this is what the FBI was talking about?" Like, that to me that's so weird that we never see any of that in any of these emails.
Yeah, I think that's probably a consequence of like the logistics around that stuff at the time. Like, you're not really going to talk about the implications of something when you're trying to figure out what decision to make.
Well, wait, I mean, I disagree, because if people are trying to figure out whether it's hacked or not, if the FBI had been warning them for a year about hacked and leaked, and that was on their mind, you would think they'd say, hey, this is evidence. The fact that the FBI is warning about this would be evidence that it maybe was hacked.
I think the first thing you'd probably the only thing you'd be focusing on is what do we actually do? And so
yeah, but what you do depends on whether it's hacked or not. So that's what they do has to depend on whether it's hacked or not. Figure that out, right?
So they're debating within themselves whether it's hacked or leaked, and so that obviously shows that they're considering whether it was a hack and leak.
Yeah. Well, okay, but you're out of time. I believe CT changed her name to Death Approaches.
All right, y'all have a good day. It was fun.
Yeah, but thanks for coming on. It was good talking to you.
Take care, man. Bye-bye. They're giving me a hard time in the chat for all kinds of things.
Oh, really?
I only
About
speak
what?
when I'm not confused. They're saying, oh, look, he's finally not confused.
You mean the chat was not?
Yeah,
I thought you meant he was.
No,
So we were
the
talking
chat
to.
likes to give me a hard time.
What's up, guys?
What's
up, Uncle Rocco?
Rocco.
Hey, man, if this is anything like your waiting room, this is going to get heated.
Oh no, are they arguing
in the waiting room?
Oh, nice. I didn't even know you
You
guys
got
could do that.
agitators in there, man.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
man.
That's awesome.
It's cool. It's good. But before, I just want to say I am kind of like a Gen X chauvinist, and I generally don't give young people very much credit. Not that you guys are kids, but I do think your guys' show is one of the better ones I've seen on YouTube.
Nice.
Well, thank you.
Well, I am Gen X myself, so I'm a Gen
why.
X.
It's not because I agree with you guys all the time, though I do agree quite a bit. I think you guys are outstanding at getting to exactly what the crux of arguments are, like the actual point of disagreement. So you're not watching a show, dancing around for an hour being like, no, ask them this. This is the thing. You guys are, whether you're right or wrong, you're really good at identifying the thing that it matters if you're right or wrong about.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love hearing that.
That's
such a great
what we try to do.
Very good. Now, I'm also going to admit, I didn't watch your show on Sunday. I've heard you guys talk about the Twitter Files thing before. I think I have a pretty good grip of where your stances are. I'm not going to outright say I can prove any of you wrong, but I do kind of want to get your take on this.
Okay.
Now, let me do a quick rundown. If there's anything you disagree with, stop me on the spot. All right?
Gotcha.
So, thing number one will go. The Burisma hack. What month do you think that happened?
It was like December 2022, I believe. Or not 2020, 2019.
Right. I think it was early November.
Okay, fair enough.
No problem. We're on the same page. The guy with the laptop store owner contacted the FBI with the laptop before that. In agreement?
They picked it up in the summer, though, right? So was there a big time between when he contacted them and the pickup?
A couple months.
Okay.
So the FBI knew right off the bat that this laptop was not a part of the Burisma hack. It's chronologically impossible.
Yeah, I would never have expected them to think they were related. Yeah.
Cool. Just wanted to make sure we're on the same page.
Right.
Now, fast forward to right before the election. I think you guys are in agreement that it's pretty reasonable to think that the FBI knew that Giuliani was shopping this story around.
Yep. I'm not sure if I agree with that. Has that ever been shown anywhere?
I don't know that it's been definitively shown, but they were spying on him.
Do we know that they were spying on Giuliani at that time?
Yes.
How do we know that? I'm not unfamiliar with this information.
I don't have news articles in front of me. It was part of the warrant to spy on the Trump campaign from the 2016 election.
That was
Giuliani
still going on in 2020? Jeez.
Yes.
Okay.
I hope I didn't just misspeak there.
I mean, well, I'll look it up. I don't know.
He was being monitored at the time, so they knew that this was going to be the October surprise from the Trump campaign.
Do you know when was he shopping it around? Because wasn't it pretty late in the game? Like he wasn't shopping around for very long.
Correct. It was pretty darn late in the game. He went to, can't remember if it was the Wall Street Journal, somebody else first. He thought they were taking too long. They went to the New York Times. It all happened pretty quick. But
so
the FBI.
It was like in November, late October, right, that he was doing this?
It was in October, obviously. It couldn't have been November.
I'm sorry. Yeah, right.
So what I'm getting at is when the story drops, right?
Mm-hmm.
The FBI, to be agreeable, the FBI knows that from their conversations with Twitter, Yoel Roth in particular, there may have been some things that were said in those meetings that could cause Twitter to be good faith, to misinterpret or probably be biased towards thinking this Hunter Biden story was a hack and leak.
Okay.
By foreign actors. No disagreement?
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely possible.
Possible or likely?
I think it's possible. Again, I'm very surprised we haven't seen emails of employees talking about any of these meetings that could have primed them to think this was a hack and leak. So that's why I say possible, not likely.
Well, you've read Yoel Roth's sworn statement, right?
Yes.
Where he specifically said that, like, in these meetings with federal law enforcement, they warned us about hack and leak operations by foreign state actors. And I'll just read it line for line. I also learned in these meetings that there were rumors of a hack and leak operation would involve Hunter Biden.
Yeah. But, and I don't know what his correction was. He now says he thinks that that's taken out of context or he misspoke or something. I don't remember exactly what his correction was. But he doesn't, I mean, he thought that the laptop should be on Twitter. So whatever, priming he was facing didn't obviously work on it.
Well, I mean, it put the thought that the FBI, whether it did or not, okay, the FBI knew that it could have.
Well, you're assuming intent. I'd say it's possible.
Not even yet. Not yet. The FBI should have and very, very likely did know that from those talks about a late hack and leak operation right before the election that they'd been talking about with Twitter for over a year, and specifically Hunter, but there was a rumor mentioned of a Hunter Biden one.
Right.
It's not really reasonable to think that when a story comes out about Hunter Biden right before the election, that, okay, maybe some of the things that were said in our meetings right there might have made them think that this is some of the, either a hack, since we were talking about hack and leak, or foreign disinformation. They might think that this is one of those things that we've been working with them on for a year since we specifically talked about this time frame, this type of information, and specifically this guy.
Yeah, so if say hypothetically, the FBI knew that Rudy Giuliani gets the laptop in March of 2020. And then in March of 2020, and he starts shopping it around. And then in March of 2020, that's when the FBI starts going to Twitter and Facebook and starts warning them all this stuff. If that's how the timeline lined up, I'd be like, whoa, that's really suspicious. As soon as, Rudy's shopping this laptop around is when they start warning about, this hack and leak operation. That to me, that'd be very suspicious, but that didn't really happen because
we don't know that didn't happen because Yoel Roth never
Rudy
swore when he heard the name Hunter Biden. He never said when he heard the name Hunter Biden.
I thought he said it was in the summer.
I did not in a sworn statement. It just said during the meeting.
We know that Rudy, other people have said that they were talking about this during the hack and leak, earlier in the year, and the Aspen Institute thing happened in April or whatever. And we know that Rudy didn't start doing this until late October because it all happened very fast. So to me, the timeline makes far more sense when it's you have the Russians hack Burisma in November of the previous year, It comes out in all the newspapers in January of 2020, and that's around the same time period where the FBI starts warning them about the hacking leak. And if you read all these articles from January 2020, it's before anyone knows about the laptop, everyone's saying, Russians hacked Burisma. It's during Trump's impeachment. Everyone's expecting that there's going to be some emails relating to Hunter Biden and the Hunter Biden laptop. So the timing just makes sense that way.
I don't know that it makes sense that way. We don't know when Yoel Roth heard the name Hunter Biden. It could have been 3 days before the story came out. We don't know. He was never forced to answer that under oath. Mark Zuckerberg.
That's true. I don't know if we know that the exact
Hunter Biden. He didn't.
We do know that the Aspen Institute and all the other meetings that they had were before that.
Correct. But what I'm getting to, the grand finale, essentially, of my point is when the story runs and when there's, intelligence officials saying it's Russian disinformation, it's this and that, and it's this and that, the FBI, if they don't want to have the election be interfered with, which is, a broad term, there's a lot. If Facebook posts from Russians is interfering with the election, real news being labeled as false is even bigger election interference. Wouldn't you say the FBI had like a duty to contact Twitter and be like, look, this isn't one of those things. We've had this. They don't even have to be this specific, but essentially they had the laptop for like 10, 11 months at that point. If there was any if there was any evidence that it was hacked material or anything, they would have had it by then. Don't you think they had a responsibility? As their goal is to make sure the election isn't interfered with. They're literally the election fairness team in a sense. Don't you think they had, given the role that they played or might have played, or just to be safe, don't you think they should have been like, hey, I know there was a lot of talk about hack and leak and all that stuff. We've actually been kind of looking into this laptop thing for 10 months, and we don't have any evidence that it's either a hack or Russian misinformation at all.
So I think that if the FBI was telling Facebook and Twitter to expect a hack and leak operation near the election, and then the laptop comes out coincidentally, assuming good faith from the FBI's part here, obviously, and then the laptop comes out coincidentally, and they're like, oh, wow, they're wondering whether it's hacked or leaked. I do think that morally the FBI should have contacted Twitter and Facebook and say, hey, we know that we told you that there could be a hack and leak. We don't know if your copy or the New York Post copy of the laptop, everything's accurate, but we do know that there was a laptop that did come from this store and that it wasn't a hack and leak operation. I do agree. I do think the FBI did have a moral obligation to say this.
Good. And to go further, it could have even been more vague. There could have been never any talks about any hack and leak. It could have just been with them. There was, but in a world where they were really vague in their meetings and they're saying, hey, just be really super skeptical about stuff that comes out in late October, because that's when all the crap hits, right?
Well, if they said to be to be clear, I mean, when they say that there's going to be hack and leak operation, that doesn't mean that what's hacked and leaked is fake. Right, that's different than saying be skeptical of the veracity of something.
Totally, I'm trying to go as unspecific as possible, because if they can be convicted of acting in an immoral sense that influenced the election, I mean, you can disagree, but I think to probably the majority of people who are looking at it fair, that's election interference.
Well, I think you're out of time, but I'm not sure exactly what I mean by election interference, but thanks for coming on, Uncle Rocco.
That's fair. Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Good talking to you.
I mean, the thing is, it's going to have an impact on the election either way, either decision. That's why it's such a difficult decision to make, because if it drops and it's misinformation, that's going to be horrible. And if it's withheld and it's real information, that's equally horrible. So,
well, I mean, yeah, and I think that's why, to me, it's very risky for social media to be in the business of like trying to fact check shit. Though I guess they technically weren't trying to fact check; they were just, because they had their hacked materials policy. And I do believe that Twitter and Facebook were completely ideologically motivated. I mean,
Yes.
if this was reversed, if this was Donald Trump Jr.'s laptop, I don't believe for a second they would have limited this story, even if they really thought it was hacked.
Yeah,
so.
it would. Even if they thought it was fake, they'd be blasting it everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, and I got to apologize. To the previous guests that came on, I was sending them to the wrong room when I'd kicked them out of here. So I apologize if I meant to send you back to the waiting room, but I was ending. I don't know where I was sending you. I was sending you to some shadow realm somewhere in the Discord.
Oh, no.
So.
Huh. Okay. Libertarian
Anyway.
Sasquatch. I've seen that name a bunch in the comments section.
Yes. What's up?
Yeah, I'm bad. Hey, what's up, guys?
Do you comment on the videos, or are you just in the chat? I don't.
No, I comment. I do. I go on the chat too.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool. What's
yeah,
up,
I
man?
send super chat. Oh,
nice.
Well, first off, let me just say that I don't think, like, to Stitch's point, I don't think there's any real, like, hard evidence that the FBI was. My issue is more of, like, the gaslighting framing, and, like, I just don't think you have to gaslight a company that already has the bias to be looking for, like, saying the laptop was misinformation. I think they'll just jump on that because it's already their bias, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it's easier, less gaslighting necessary, right? Like if you're trying to gaslight someone into going against their bias, you need a lot more gas.
So wait, are you saying that you think even if the FBI didn't say anything about hack and leak operation, that Twitter and Facebook would have acted the same way?
Well, no, I think that's a primer where they're being intentionally vague on what the hack and leak is. So it leaves it up to the discretion of Twitter, where you get this Hunter Biden laptop, and then they go, oh shit, like this is probably what they're talking about. So they just yeet it off the platform, but they don't know that's what they were looking for. Because they never said, oh, it's going to be the laptop or it's going to be Burisma. They leave it intentionally vague. So you are doing the work for them, essentially.
Twitter.
Because they're not telling you to ban it. Right. They're just telling you, look, oh, be on the lookout for this. So if you're Biden, of course you're going to jump all over it.
Sounds like you switched mics. Sounds like maybe you went from one mic to another. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what happened.
That's way better.
I don't know where I left off.
Your mic got like the last considerably better. Yeah.
My problem, and the second thing is more of the wink. I think my problem was more of you were just so sure it didn't happen. Where, I mean, we don't have any evidence that it did or didn't, but I don't think they would put that in a official email. That's more of a phone call or a lunch meeting.
Right.
Because this guy is also a former FBI Baker. So you can, like, do these things through unofficial channels, I guess my...
Sure. Right. Yeah, like, so, of course it's possible that, the FBI, someone at the FBI had a meeting in person with Jim Baker, and they're like, fuck the wink. They could have had someone at the FBI have a face-to-face meeting with Jim Baker where they said, hey, I don't want Donald Trump. The FBI doesn't want Donald Trump to win. You don't want Donald Trump to win. You go tell Facebook or you go tell Twitter that the laptop story is hacked, or you try to convince them or whatever. Like, that could have happened. I mean, we could never prove that happened or it didn't happen. So I don't know what am I supposed to do with that information?
Yeah. No, I agree. I just think this whole thing's a Rorschach test for whatever your bias already is. You're gonna jump on whatever FBI bad or Twitter bad. My problem was more of the gaslighting. I just don't think you need to do that.
Well, I mean, you just have when people use the term gaslighting, they just mean priming, I guess. They just mean, they're priming them to look, to see anything that comes out as being a hack and leak, right?
You want to inception them. That's what you want.
They want to inception them, right? Now, obviously, since Twitter is biased towards the left, they would need significantly less priming than if they weren't. But okay, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, Well, and I was just thinking about it. I'm just like, I just don't see really them doing anything real nefarious.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean they can't do. I just like, I guess I'm taking the airplane view of, well, they do a ton of nefarious shit. So I don't think we should just pardon them. I just don't think it's crazy to believe. But the problem is there's no evidence. And I think that's what people are getting lost in the weeds on.
Right. Well, I mean, there is, again, if there was evidence, I could change my mind on this tomorrow if some, new Twitter files email came out. I don't really have some strong bias in favor of the FBI or anything. I'd be more surprised than I'll admit I would be surprised if the FBI was doing it because, I mean, a question like, the head of the FBI at the time was a Trump appointee, so it would mean that either that person was secretly against Trump or there's all this stuff going on in the FBI outside of, the leadership of the FBI's knowledge. And there's like some mutiny going on there, which, I mean, that would be very surprising to me if that was happening.
Like I said, I don't even really disagree with you guys. With you, but I just think in the stream
he disagrees with me.
No, not either of you. No, I meant like Sitch. I just don't think.
That's what. Yeah.
Oh, I just don't. I just think on the stream you dismissed it so fast.
I see. Right.
And I think that's what.
That's what I said. Like he didn't even want to entertain the idea.
Well, I mean, you could be right. That could be fair. Again, for a lot of people, it's like they're hearing my opinion of this the first time, and it's like I'm watching this information for the first time when it's, I've seen these arguments play out and heard them a million times, and I've thought about this for hours and hours already before the stream ever happens. But I mean, so yeah, it's definitely possible that happened. I haven't seen any evidence of it. I'm agnostic towards it. Well, I'm actually further to leaning against it didn't happen than agnostic, but it's definitely possible. I can change my mind at any moment with some new information. So
yeah, and I just, like I said, my last thing on it is I just feel like you dismissed it so quickly, like that it's just not even a possibility. That I think that's what freaked most of the chat out.
Gotcha. Right. Well, if that's the case, then I was, wording myself poorly. I think it's a possibility. I think it's an unlikely. As of now, I think it's unlikely.
Right. Yeah, and my contention is like, I don't think we should give the FBI so much charity that they wouldn't do this. Because they've done a lot worse. I mean, I know that's more whataboutism, but.
Well, I'm trying to think of what have they? Because a lot of the bad stuff we think of the FBI doing was stuff, under Hoover.
That's like a
really bad shit.
Well, that is a really bad way to think of it too, because the FBI is an organization with hundreds of people who all have who all have their own independent thoughts and motivations.
Right.
So it's not you can't really say like the FBI has done a bunch of bad shit in the past, because it's really people inside the FBI were willing to do bad shit in the past to take advantage of their positions.
Right.
And maybe there are people there today that are willing to do shit as well. So, I mean, you have to think of it more that way. You can't go, the FBI has a pattern of doing this. The FBI has tools at its disposal that allow people who want to take, advantage of their power in ways that are often nefarious. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, like, I guess I'm just not wording it right. It's more just this is within their wheelhouse to do.
Yes.
So it shouldn't be dismissed like unequivocally that no, they didn't do this. And I just think with the emails we have available, we just can never get that picture unless we have no.
Well, I mean, I guess. I mean, it's weird to me. I know you're not saying this, but it's weird to me that when a lot of people fixate on like the past FBI actions, because as Brianna Greyjoy always likes to bring up, the past FBI actions were mainly used against the left, not the right. So again, you shouldn't dismiss it. If someone were to just look at this and say, oh, with no information, before any Twitter files come out, for someone to look at this and say, hey, there's no way that the FBI told Twitter or Facebook to censor the story. There's no way for them that they gaslit them, any of this stuff. Then I agree with you. Yeah, that would be stupid. That'd be a very stupid opinion to have.
Yeah,
Before
and
any
like
of the
I said, my
information
only
comes out.
problem was just dismissing it out of hand, where it's just, I don't know, the whole thing feels fishy as it is.
Right, but the problem is that's exactly the same feeling people had about, Trump Russia. Like, oh, this just feels so fishy. There's so much smoke here.
No, yeah, I completely agree. I'm just saying you gotta view their entire history to be like, I know it's individuals, but all that is a pattern of them doing shit outside their legal purview. So I guess I just don't understand why we should just dismiss it.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't be dismissed before any evidence comes in. I agree. So
yeah, and can I say one last thing?
Sure.
I'm not a libertarian. I just thought the name was funny. So when people attack me for being a libertarian, I'm not a Sasquatch either.
Okay.
That's
hilarious.
That's
hilarious.
See,
but everyone, including myself, looks at your name and they assume that you're libertarian. So
I know.
Aren't all Sasquatches libertarian?
That after I made it.
They are. They all live in the forest.
They're the ultimate individualist, right?
That's right. That's right. They're their own species of creature. So
it's like people just attack me. Iran didn't. She didn't say this. And it's like, okay, well, I don't care.
You should change your name to the Objectivist Sasquatch. So.
The Objective, yeah. All right, well, that's it. That's all I got.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks.
What's the matter? What are you laughing at? Dick Masterson is all. Dick Masterson hates it when I tweet about taxation.
Taxation being bad.
It always triggers him. Yeah,
You've been going.
Well, he tweeted back, "Property ownership is theft." What? Look, he's like full comedy.
Is he just messing with you, or is he serious?
He's just messing with me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, what's up, Sono Zone?
Hey, what's going on, guys? That came out of nowhere. Oh my goodness. We were just talking and all of a sudden I'm here. Out of nowhere.
Like magic, yeah.
No, it's crazy. Hey, what's going on? I'm here because Sitch is nitpicking and biased. It's awful.
Okay. I like it. Someone comes out of the gate swinging.
No. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
What? Don't walk it back. You were on a roll there. What are you talking about?
Look at this. Adam's like, yes, get him.
I'm actually. I don't know if you guys remember me, but I'm Kyle PD from chat. This is just my Discord.
Okay.
Oh, what's up? Yeah, I recognize that name.
Sweet, awesome. No, God, sorry. We were in the middle of talking, and then I got dragged here, so I wasn't expecting it. Sorry.
Nitpicking and biased. That's where you were.
Yeah, no, because I mean. No. Oh my god. No, I actually don't disagree with Sitch. Sorry to blow the.
Bam! You snuck on here to agree with me. Okay.
Oh man.
No, yeah. I won't take up the full 10 minutes. I think Sitch is right.
That's no big deal.
Thank you.
I don't know. I don't know. I more or less wanted to point out I wanted to cover the fact that I think your audience, you did the poll, and it's your audience is what was it, 60% right wing or something like that?
Yeah, 60-40.
Yeah, 60-40. And I don't know. I think, why do you guys think that is? I'm just curious.
Because we're against wokeness, and people on the right are against wokeness, so they like to hear our arguments against the commies as well. They're against communism and socialism and that stuff. So.
Well, yeah, but I mean, why do you think they don't get scared off? Though?
Well, a lot of them do.
Like
though,
when you guys
look,
Well, no, I know that like there are purges, obviously, but
Yeah.
like obviously the Sunday stream like drew blood or whatever, you know, for the right wing.
we lost a lot of people after January 6th too. But I mean, we get people back. It's a constant churn. It's not a big deal.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
There are right wing people who just like all they want to hear is like Ben Shapiro talking points, and we're not in that crowd. I mean, I think Ben Shapiro has a lot of great material, but I mean, I was listening to him on the Silicon Valley Bank story, and I was just like, oh man, this is just trash. This is garbage. This is like garbage tier take.
I actually didn't hear anything about it until you guys brought it up till Adam brought it up on the Tuesday stream, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so it's a boring topic that people were trying to blow up to be like, oh my God, there's gonna be a bank run, everything's gonna collapse, and it's like nothing, you know.
I know, I saw that. I was like, geez, Bank of America and JP Morgan are gonna make a lot of money next quarter. It's just a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good time to buy the stock. Yeah.
But I mean, I think Adam's right. I think it's just because we, you know, when we attack the left, like, I don't know, probably 80% of the time in our stream. So we're going to pull from we're going to get a right wing audience, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I think another part of it is Adam tries to play softball with the right wing in the chat sometimes. I think that's part of it.
Ooh, the true knife comes out.
What's up?
Hey, no, and the reason I say that is because like I'm right leaning, I would say. And I started out watching the chat, and I think my very first super chat was coming at Sitch. And I remember I was annoyed because I was like, why is Sitch reading it? I want Adam to read the super chats.
Well,
Mm,
and because I was full on A team. But
this is before you knew that Adam couldn't read.
Yeah, exactly. And then I switched to S class, but then he gave me his weird Al take, and then I was like,
well, I think one of the advantages that Sitch and I have over many political commentators is I would say like 90% of the political commentary is just revolves around straw manning the other side. So I think that's where we add value where other political commentators don't. And even if I don't necessarily agree with the right wing position, I feel like I can state it in a way that is respectful. And I mean, you're characterizing that as going soft. I mean, we do the same kind of thing with the left too, but I guess we don't get as hard a time about it.
Well, I guess.
Well, I mean, on the trans, I
think you definitely go harder on the left, Adam. Like, and I know that, like this recent, and I'm not trying to attack Adam because I think that there's a great dynamic on the show. I think, and like I said, I'm S class. I think Sitch crafts a lot of good arguments. I think Adam crafts some good ones too. But I think Adam's the funnier one out of the duo.
Oh wow!
Fair enough.
I don't know.
But on the trans stuff, I know there are a lot of right wing people in our audience that would they get mad that we just respect people's pronouns and stuff. So, I mean, isn't that going soft on the left?
Well, for some people.
Yeah, no, I guess that's true. I guess I would agree. I would agree with that.
I mean, I'm glad. Well, I don't know if I agree with that, but I'm glad that Adam will take the opposite position a lot of times when we're talking, or at least play the devil's advocate, because it makes the conversation more interesting and helps me think through my arguments a little bit clearer.
I agree. I'm not trying to sound like I'm attacking Adam.
No, I understand. I understand. Right. I understand.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's a good dynamic. I think that's why people enjoy it. And also, I mean, I look for it on other shows, and I don't really know that there's anyone out there that's kind of doing the thing that we're doing. It seems like every time there is a show with a bunch of people on it, it's either, an all-out slugfest from people who hate each other's guts, or it's just a hug box where everyone agrees and they're just, slapping each other's back happily for so long. It's boring.
There's another version, which is there's like a big panel show where everyone's friends, and then one person has like the weird bad take, and then it's like them versus
the gang.
Get dogpiled.
Yeah, we call that the Doomer situation. Yes.
I actually think Doomer's pretty funny too, even though I disagree.
Doomer's great. Doomer, he's the perfect foil. So he's a perfect murder.
Well, I guess EFAP does kind of foster the same kind of atmosphere just in the media space. So that's probably why we have a lot of overlap with the EFAP audience.
I've actually never seen EFAP.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Although I've heard Rags on here. It's funny because I don't know. I avoided Rags because I don't know. I thought he was like a furry or something. I didn't know based on the channel. I had no idea.
Exactly. Yeah. Listen, I understand.
Our biggest audience overlap in order is the Lotus Eaters is number 1. Number 2 is the Critical Drinker. Would you have guessed that?
I would never have guessed that.
Yeah.
No. That's weird.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen the
and number
Critical
3
Drinkers,
is EFAP. So
I thought Steven Crowder was our biggest.
I know. I just checked recently, and it's changed. So
maybe because we were anti Steven Crowder in the I was in the Daily Wire debacle. So maybe that pushed up Steven Crowder.
I was going easy on the right in the Steven.
You're going easy on the Steven Crowder
Well, I mean, I can understand. I understand it from both perspectives, and just
No, and I think Sitch and Actual Justice Warrior were 100% spot on in that as well.
True.
But no, I think you guys do feel like a very specific like niche in the space, and I think that's why like even though I haven't watched either of your guys' main channels, but like this channel like isn't really that big like with 44. I mean,
I think we can get to 100K during election season. I really do. I think that's our chance to really grow the channel to 100K. Because election coverage is going to be amazing. Yeah, this election season, oh my God, it's going to be insane.
But I think the biggest utility is like that you can bring a bunch of people on, and like I feel like maybe you being small makes them feel less threatened to come on.
I agree.
And I think that helps.
Agree. Yeah, I agree there. That's for sure.
And so I don't know. I'm almost.
You're like you want us to stay small. We're gonna blow up and we're gonna lose. We're gonna get to 100K subscribers. We're gonna get giant, massive egos. We're gonna go down the route of so many other YouTubers. Oh no, we're gonna do it.
I'm not gonna get a giant,
okay?
massive
We're
ego.
gonna become total shill, hacks for one side just to get the views. We're gonna become total audience capture. It's gonna be amazing.
Well, I'll do all that. I don't want to.
Can't wait.
You guys have already started the adventure. I mean, like the YouTuber plushie. I mean, that's like the first step to the big YouTuber.
That's true.
Yeah, thanks to Sammy G.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, Sammy. Well, thanks for coming on, Sono. I'm glad that we had someone who says that we're awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
And agree with Sitch.
Exactly.
And A Team will rise again. We'll get you back again. It's just a matter of time.
Nah. Terrible.
Hey, the Weird Al almost won me back over.
Oh. Shame. Well, take care.
Yep. Later, guys.
Late. Oh man,
I can't believe people don't like Weird Al.
I'm so looking forward. What is the dream panel for election season? Like President Sunday, maybe? Like who? What insane? FD signifier, President Sunday. Who else?
Well, no. See, okay, you have to be careful because like they're not going to want whoever the Democrats put up anyway. So it's just
I know, but I'm just like the chaos
you
panel.
Gotta get someone to shill for the Democrats during the election cycle, right?
That's who do you think? Oh, you're right. Yeah, never mind.
Who do we? We'll have Destiny on shill.
DJ.
What's up, DJ?
What's up?
Hang
Nothing
the DJ, hang the DJ, hang the DJ.
Oh my God! Listen, you
yeah.
just here. Can you not threaten?
Hang the DJ.
No, are you saying hang the DJ or hang with DJ?
I'm saying, oh yeah, hang with DJ. No, it's a more.
Is this a song? I'm unfamiliar with this old man.
I am unfamiliar with it as well.
You guys don't know Morrissey, the Smiths? It might be the Smiths.
I'm familiar with the name Morrissey, but I've never heard
Anyway,
the song.
let's enough of this small talk. Tell me how Sitch
All
is
right.
wrong, DJ. That's what I'm here for.
So, I don't know if I necessarily want to say you're wrong, Sitch, but I do want to go over just kind of, first off, what your thoughts are about teleporter and private communications to social media companies are in that matter. And then I want to kind of just walk through the timeline of kind of the last few hours of communication between Hunter Biden's lawyer, the FBI, and Twitter before the post story broke.
So, for a second, I was confused. I was like, "What does teleportation have to do with this?" I don't. Well, I do have I don't have a problem with the government having like the teleporter, like direct access thing, but as long as it still, I believe, has to be public. So I'm fine with them doing that, having that direct access, as long as everything they're talking about is public.
Okay. I actually agree. My biggest complaint with it is that like it just is a black hole largely. Oh, I'm sorry about that. So, and I completely agree that, anyone that tries to make a claim that or an affirmative claim that the FBI did intentionally suppress the Hunter Biden story to Twitter, there's no evidence to support that. However, I do feel like with the events that happened up to the breaking of the New York Post story is at least a smoking gun that if we had access to the documents that were sent through teleporter, that would obviously answer this question that I have, which is the timeline of events is the day before the Post breaks a story. They contact Hunter Biden's lawyer. And also if you feel I'm wrong about any of the facts, feel free to just interrupt me.
Who's they?
Correct it. The New York Post.
Okay, well, presumably they were trying to confirm the story, right?
Yeah, so they get the documents from Rudy Giuliani. They contact Hunter Biden's lawyer after having the post written. They tell him, "Hey, we have documents from Hunter Biden's laptop. We're going to post it tomorrow." They did not tell the lawyer who they got it from. The lawyer then, like a couple of minutes later, ends up calling the laptop repair shop. And then 2 hours after that call, and of course, the New York Post knows this because they got in communication with the laptop repair shop. 2 hours later, from that call from Hunter Biden's lawyer, Special Agent Elvis Chan sent 10 documents to Yoel Roth, as well as one other person through teleporter. Then the next day, the story breaks, and it's immediately suppressed. I want to know how you would, I guess, do you feel like that's at least a smoking gun that, well, because we don't know the contents of it, that's extremely fishy that the timeline happened to line up exactly the way that it did.
So I know that someone, now, of course, they could have been lying. I know someone testified that the 10 documents didn't have anything to do with Hunter Biden. Or Yoel Roth said that in his congressional hearing. He could be lying, even though he was in favor of keeping the laptop story up. We don't know. I don't know. I believe he said that. He at least said or implied that Twitter still had those documents, didn't he, in his testimony? Or are they lost forever?
So theoretically, from what my understanding is teleporter after a certain amount of time deletes the actual contents of whatever was sent. It keeps the metadata of like what the that a message was sent, what size it was. But, the actual contents
documents from on his end though, on his work computer. If he did,
right?
That'd be the question,
He could have. And I think it would be pertinent to know what that was, because I feel like what those 10 documents were are pretty important to understand. Just because, at the very least, the timing is extremely suspect. It's possible, right, that they just happened to send those documents when they did. And it could have actually been that those documents were fairly innocuous in just general policies about, like, hey, remember that hack and dump we told you about earlier? There might be something coming soon, so that Yoel Roth was prepped mentally when that happened.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, no, I agree. It should definitely be something to look into. I don't know if they have the ability. I think they do. I think the House Republicans would have the ability to, or the House Intel Committee should in theory, have the power to demand from the FBI whatever those 10 documents are. So
even if they were classified, because the whole point was supposedly that
even if
anything
they're
sent through
classified,
teleport is
The
classified.
House Intel, I believe the House Intel Committee can see all classified information.
Okay.
So
yeah,
that'd be good. I mean, the problem is like it would be one of those situations where they should do it, and if the documents are innocuous, it's not going to change anyone's mind, except for maybe you. Like, it's not going to make much of a difference narratively. But I agree they should still do it.
So then I think I also would like to ask if you, because we were actually arguing about this in the waiting room before I came on. So I'm of the position that for the most part, unless a private company is already heavily regulated by the government in how they're allowed to discriminate against providing services to U.S. citizens, that the FBI or other intelligence agencies should not be able to have private communications with them. Especially if that information is not under the jurisdiction of FOIA. Mm-hmm. Would you agree that they shouldn't, or would you push back on that?
So you don't think the government should be able to have private communications with any company, or
with private companies that aren't already regulated by the government as to who that company can provide its services to?
Well, you'd have to change the criteria because that technically applies to every company, because every company is under civil rights protections. So you can make the argument that the government regulates that for every company, right? They can't discriminate
services, I guess,
to people on the basis of race and stuff.
I guess I would go based off of, like, for instance, do you have a constitutional right to be able to use this service? Like, for instance, Comcast, unless I'm doing something illegal on their network, a utility provider can't deny me services. The municipal water companies, even though it's private, they can't discriminate against me because they're considered like infrastructure. So I think, like, for something that's public infrastructure, yeah, the government should be able to communicate privately with them because, like, hey, that makes sense as public infrastructure. In the case of something like Twitter, right? They basically get the benefits of being able to communicate privately with the government while also being largely unaccountable to the American people.
I mean, I'm not even sure if I agree with you. I don't know. Well, it depends what the communication's about, obviously. Like, if it's about some top secret information, or if it's about someone doing something illegal, that's just like, oh, someone's putting up plans to build nuclear bombs on Twitter or something, right? You maybe don't want to draw attention to that. So I don't really have a problem with those sorts of communications. When it comes to things that aren't illegal, that were like, we think this person's violating your TOS. I mean, I agree. I don't think that should be secret communications. So,
well, I think that even like what the FBI communicated to Twitter about, like, or any social media company, that, hey, during this time, expect a hack and leak operation. Mm-hmm. I think that really, if these intelligence agencies wanted to have trust, any information they give to these companies should be released publicly in a similar way that the CDC or FDA release guidelines on diseases or food contagions.
Like, I don't know if I'd go that far. I think when they're asking for specific things to be taken down, obviously I think that should be transparent. I think just having conversations with private companies is fine for the government to do that. To me, that'd be too onerous if every communication the government had with a private company had to be public.
I guess, or maybe not like public, but at least accessible via FOIA.
Via FOIA? Maybe. I could definitely be convinced of that. Yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to that.
So then I have 2 minutes. If I understand correctly from what you've said in previous things about the Twitter files, do you think that or are you under the perception that it is more likely that the FBI was just kind of doing standard FBI operations with how they handled the Twitter, or like their communications with Twitter and the Hunter Biden laptop, or if they were pushing things towards a certain objective.
I think that the FBI honestly believed that there was going to be some sort of hack and leak operation because of what happened with Burisma. Maybe they also had, I'm sure they're always hearing chatter. They probably heard chatter about other shit, and that they were honestly thought there was going to be some hack and leak and did not believe. I do not believe that my mind could be changed, but I don't believe that the FBI was saying what they were saying with the intention of like, oh, we believe that the Hunter Biden laptop is going to be released near the election, and we want to censor that story. I don't believe that that's what was going through anyone at the FBI's mind when they're having these communications with Twitter or Facebook.
Okay, yeah, I can't read their minds. I think that ultimately their actions led towards that. I also think that
but we don't have strong evidence though for that. But
yeah, I also think that if the information is true, the FBI shouldn't suppress it to begin with. But my time's up, so thank you.
Well, thanks for coming on, Deej.
Yep.
Thanks for coming on. Oh shit. Thanks for coming on. Oh, damn
it. Too slow.
I'll get it next time.
Hello.
Hello, Blaine. Blaine's Escape
up, Blaine?
Corner.
Hey,
What's up?
Your friendly based anime reviewer.
Cool.
That's right. You wanted to come on and debate anime.
Yeah, anime. No, actually, I'm shifting gears on you, and I know that's hard because you can't drive a manual, but we'll get through this together.
Look at that. Low blow.
No, we're talking gun rights because you have a take on ammo registration. I think.
Yes.
I think that I've tried to like steelman it for myself, but
yeah.
Is that the take? Is like if you find a bullet, you look at the bullet, you know who fired that bullet, you solve the crime. Is that?
Well, you know who bought the bullet, right? You wouldn't know if they necessarily fired it.
Okay.
Right.
And how does finding a bullet and knowing who bought it stop crime? Because that was your ultimate thing, was like, oh, if it stops crime, then I'm happy. Like that was your kind of like end goal, right?
I think if every time someone acquired ammunition, right, there was this, they would be basically on the hook for either committing a crime with that bullet, or someone else committing a crime with that bullet. I think it would definitely stop crime, at least gun crime, because people would be so afraid of getting caught. It'd be so difficult to shoot someone and not get caught.
Do you think people buy ammo and then give it to somebody else and think, oh, this person's a criminal? Like
I think most gun crime.
Like, how do you think gun crime people get the ammo? I guess would be the first question.
So most, to my understanding, most gun crime is gang violence or crimes of passion, if I recall the stats correctly. And so with crimes of passion, obviously,
and are we also getting rid of suicide? Is that
well, I don't. Yeah, I'm not considering that like a crime.
Okay.
Right? And there's no one to prosecute, obviously, in that situation. But so obviously, if it's a crime of passion, then that would be a 1-for-1, because the person's not intending to commit a crime, right? But they wouldn't be able to get away with it. They just have their gun there. So that would definitely catch those people. But when it comes to like
don't we already
violence,
catch those people?
Huh?
We already catch those people.
Okay.
So why do we have to then register ammo now?
So when it, well, you can make the argument that for people like crimes of passion, like that wouldn't necessarily stop crime because the person's not thinking, right? They're just in an emotional state.
Okay,
but when we're talking about like
right,
so we're talking about like gang violence and stuff. I mean, how are the people getting? How are they getting guns? How are they getting ammunition?
They usually have a fall guy that'll buy stuff and then pass it off, which is
right. So if we had a situation where the police could track every bullet, who's going to be? Why would anyone ever be that fall guy?
Why would someone be the straw purchase already, which is already a felony, to go in and buy a gun for somebody who isn't allowed to have a gun and then hand it to them? And those are prosecuted felonies that we already have.
Because doesn't that rely on them finding the gun in the first place?
Well, yes.
Right.
That's why I sent you all of the gun trace statistics. We find 80% of guns that are traced found the original owner.
Right, but so to me, it's easier psychologically for someone to think, oh, I can buy this gun for someone. They'll pay me, right? And then they're not going to just leave the gun out for someone to find, right? Or they'll file off the serial number, or they'll do, whatever. I can believe someone would think that, where if it's like, well, every bullet has, somehow something on it that tracks it to you and you can't get rid of it. I would think people would really think twice about buying bullets for people at that point.
All right, then we'll switch to the technology of this as well.
But do you not disagree, or do you agree? With
I disagree. Yes, I disagree that the same mindset that says I'm gonna go buy this gun for someone I know can't buy it because I want to be ingratiated in the gang is the same person that will be the guy that buys the ammo, because they know that when the ammo is used, like let's say we're using a hollow pointed round where it's going to hit, it's going to frange, it's going to split. You're talking about a technology that needs to be able to find shrapnel of a bullet, repiece it back together, and then tell you what this serial number is so that you can trace it back.
Well, that could be true, but let's just say, for the sake of the conversation, hypothetically, there's a magic technology, okay, that they can trace any bullet. Do you not think that would not have people be very cautious to buy bullets for other people?
No.
Okay, so what's the argument? Why not?
Well, because like I just said, the same reason that someone's going to buy guns for somebody is the same argument that they're going to buy bullets for somebody. They want to get in with the gang. They know that this is how they get it. They go to the shadiest shop in town. They have ways to get ammo. And this is going even without the fact that we can do reloading. So you can load your own ammo with machines that are fairly automatic nowadays. So it's not a thing that...
Oh, you mean like pick up like spent ammo? Is that what you're saying?
You can buy new or you can pick up spent ammo, yeah. But you can reload. You can take the casings, the powder, the primer, the bullet, and you can form your own rounds. You can even cast the lead to make your own ammo. So if we get to a point where it says, hey, we've got magic bullets now, people are just going to reload. And I know your other argument for this has been...
Well, before you move on, I'll say two things. First of all, I mean, that's definitely possible. Like what you're saying about the reloading thing, that's probably what people would do. I still think that adding friction to anything is going to lessen the activity. I think just by its nature, it might, it's not going to stop at 100%, but it's still going to add friction. What that number friction, what that amount is, I don't know the answer to that. We wouldn't know unless we did it.
And I think the problem here is that when you say add friction, you're adding friction to millions of people who just want to have fun and enjoy their guns. Meanwhile,
why would it add friction to a normal person?
Because now for me to buy ammo, I can't just go in and buy ammo. I have to go in, buy ammo, do paperwork.
You just have to show your ID.
You just have to show your ID. So now you're
and
just
the person
going in
just puts it in the computer, like, oh, they bought,
in the computer. Where is that? So I worked for a gun shop, manufacturer, everything for years. So now you're saying that the gun shops have the burden of maintaining the registration?
So I guess the way it would work would be you go into the gun shop, and they have everything has some number, some magic number associated with it. And when you buy it, you give them their ID, and they associate your name with that box of ammunition, and they put in their computer, and then that gets sent off to wherever it gets sent off to. To me, that
currently
so
where
onerous.
It gets sent off to is always the gun shops. It's always a burden on the gun shops to retain the files, retain the history, retain all the tracking and the tracing. The reason the government doesn't technically have any kind of like tracking system on guns is because all of that is done by the gun shops.
Yeah, but is that laziness of the government, or is that because they don't want the government to the lawmakers, Republican lawmakers, don't want the government to have that information?
I mean, I don't think anybody wants anyone to have that information. I'm in the Northwest. I have just as many liberal clients as I do conservative clients. So I don't think this is a either side.
To me, I'm fine with if there's going to be this system to just have the government have that information to make it easier for the gun shops. I don't think it'd be that burdensome, really. But
so okay, you go in, you buy your ammo. Yeah. It's registered to you in your name. You then don't need it and you sell it. Now who tracks where it went?
Well, it would be either illegal or you'd have to fill out some paperwork to do that.
So as it is now, if I go sell a gun, before we've got background checks in Washington State, but I'll stick to federal rules. If I go sell a gun, you would only have to have a bill of sale that says like, I now gave this to that person. I used to have like no background check requirements or anything like that, and you could just make that transaction occur. You're saying that there has to be an added background check or some sort of added registration step in that?
Well, I didn't say anything about background check. To me, though, it is I don't know how comfortable I am with individual people selling guns to people without background checks or something. But if you have to have a bill of sale for selling your gun, why wouldn't you just have the same thing with the ammunition?
So what happens?
Or I would say I'll go further. Yeah, if you sell under this system that I'm hypothetical system, if you sell a box of ammunition to someone, you should have to go on your old internet machine and type up something and put in that you're selling this ammunition to that person. Yeah.
And so where is that database? That like you're
it goes to the government. So some sort of government database. To the government.
So the gun shop sends this list to the government. Yeah. And how does this stop crime though? Like I still don't see it stopping crime.
Well, that goes back to the original question, which is, you were saying that you don't think it would stop crime because the fact that people can trace guns doesn't stop crime. But to me, as I said, psychologically, if I'm a criminal or I'm in a gang or whatever, I could think, hey, I can buy this gun for someone. They're going to commit a crime with it, maybe, but they're just going to not leave it on the ground, right? Like they have to, be very stupid with the gun. They have to get caught and the gun found on them, right? For the police to track it back to me. But if it's a bullet, you're like, well, they're going to shoot the bullet at a person.
And you think it just
go in their body or it's going to go in a wall. And the police are obviously going to find that. So to me, psychologically, it's gonna be far more persuasive to prevent people from doing those kind of straw purchases.
Well, I go back to my original statement that the idea of a magic bullet that you can just find doesn't exist. Between ammo ranges, splits and separates, or ball ammo that just through and throughs forever, you're just not going to get a point where you're going to be able to find the ammo.
You could,
if your only argument is the technological one. If your only argument is that the technology doesn't exist, then the conversation is moot because, as I said, technology doesn't exist and it doesn't exist.
You could totally do this because inside the bullet, you could put some sort of serial number easily. You could totally do that. Like you could
how would you find it?
What do you mean?
I don't think you guys know what bullets do when they impact things.
Well, they often shatter and blow up.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you put something in it that was that didn't shatter, you could definitely be like the black box of every bullet.
Well, that would probably be, I don't know how expensive it would be to put some unbreakable thing inside every bullet.
Well, and also we go back to why not, you could just reload. There's millions of rounds that have been made before all of the gun law things that you're suggesting.
Yeah, but we're just kind of looping. We're just kind of looping at this point.
Yeah,
because
but
as I said,
we're talking going
I think
forward.
Friction causes friction, right?
The problem with the going forward argument is that I have fired and used guns from before 1900. So you can go forward with laws, but there's so much existing that you're not going to have break or be unusable in the next, couple hundred years.
Every time someone picks up a gun to commit a crime, though, they're going to think, "Oh, I wonder if it has one of those new bullets in it." They're going to be like, "Dang, it's totally going to create friction." Because they're not going to know. Like they're going to be, some gang is going to be out and they're going to say, "Here's a gun. You're coming with us. You have to kill this guy." They're going to be, "Oh my God, I hope it doesn't have one of those new bullets. I'm going to be sunk."
You think someone in a gang is going to have that thought as they're handed the gun that they're going to go utilize in some sort of crime?
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
When
this
a week
is why people
earlier,
leave their cell
the
phones
other
at
guy
home.
gets
They're
arrested.
Like, look, even the cell phones. The cell phones totally give so many people away. The criminals are like, "Oh my God, I got to leave my cell phone at home," and then they find out, "Oh yeah, why was your cell phone at home when the crime was committed?" Right?
Yeah.
Traceability is the key. It really is. And I understand that from like a libertarian perspective, you're like, "Oh my God, they're monitoring me. My privacy is going away." But I mean, if you look at the most recent case, the Heller versus DC, the Supreme Court said you could make any kind of a common sense gun regulation that was meant to fight crime. That was the outcome of that case.
And the follow-up with Bruin, where they said that you have the right to bear your arms.
No, I'm talking about DC versus Heller.
Right, but the follow-up case in Bruin, where they held that no, this law was not reasonable.
But is Bruin a Supreme Court case?
The Supreme Court was New York State versus Bruin.
Okay, and that was after Heller?
What was the law?
Yes, that was after Heller. New York City had a law that you couldn't, carry your gun loaded?
Interesting.
Or concealed. No, it was the concealed. So you have to have shall issue rules on your concealed.
Well, I thought Heller was the case that they overturned DC's handgun ban.
Heller is a case that a lot of people get excited about, but then also like extreme gun people will say like, oh well, Heller didn't go far enough. That's usually what it gets. And then when we got Bruin, I want to say Bruin was like just months ago with its actual findings, where it's holding that no, the Second Amendment is a right that you have to have legitimate government interest.
Sure.
It's like the same requirements as like the First Amendment, basically.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt, but your time is up.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about this again. Yeah,
Blade is super cool. I will say that. So.
A longer
and we're interested in the topic.
Bang bangs.
So.
I'd love a longer conversation.
Look, I like the boom boom sticks, so I'm in favor of keeping them legal. I just at the same time, if there's some sort of technological workaround that makes things easier on gun owners, because I mean, I understand your perspective. I don't want to, fill out a bunch of paperwork to buy a bullet, but I don't fill out a bunch of paperwork when I buy a beer, but they ask me for my ID. So
right, and here's the thing: if you get rid of the NFA and let people have guns, just quit making so many of these guns illegal. Let us import guns. Because right now there's a federal weapons ban. You can't bring in foreign rifles that are cool and awesome. We have to leave them out of state. There's so many rules that are always just step, making it more and more annoying for gun owners, that anytime you suggest something like, oh, well, let's add this, all we see is like a wall of laws that have been like just encroaching on our Second Amendment for 60 years. So
there should be exceptions to all that shit, because it's you want to keep the guns out of the hands of criminals, but law-abiding citizens, if they want to import some exotic gun, they should be able to do that. There should be exceptions around.
Yeah,
all
like you shouldn't let criminals have
That's
guns,
bullshit.
but there's ways to get around it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Well, listen,
totally.
if they create the magic tracing technology, okay, we can trade all. How about we trade like all other gun regulations for the magic tracing?
I would probably take that. I would take magic tracing if you got rid of all the rest of the
There
law.
you go. We're building bridges. Well, thanks for coming on.
I'd love to
Blaine.
talk more, but I'm going to toss it up to Soladoge.
Take care.
We've been practicing, him and I.
Oh,
so
no.
Have fun.
Sweet.
Okay, interesting.
We got to go shooting, Sitch, man. Guns are so much fun.
I have gone shooting. Shooting is fun. I like guns. Love shooting guns.
Have you shot an AR?
No, I haven't.
Oh, man. That's a lot of fun.
No. I've never shot an AR. I've never shot a fully automatic weapon either.
Yeah.
So I've shot, shotguns.
You're just missing out on a lot of fun.
I know. I've shot shotguns, pistols, and single shot rifles and stuff.
Yeah,
and bows and arrows.
The feeling of an M240 going off is a lot of fun. Take it from personal experience.
I bet. What's up, Soladoge?
Anyway, how are you doing? Oh my
Soladoge.
gosh. You're calling me Soladoge.
Why did you change your name?
I did it to protect you. If we did the Sitch and Soladoge show, people would start calling it the SS show, and I don't want that to be a thing for
that's
you.
True.
Oh, that's right.
To come on.
Were you trying to get me to kick Adam off as host, and you were trying to subvert his spot or something?
You didn't tell him?
I don't remember.
Look, hold on. I got this.
Adam, now I'm
Adam,
super offended.
I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry, Adam.
I'm not worried
It's
because
not
last
you.
time you were supposed to show up, I think you flaked out. You were like scared or something. You didn't want to
Oh
come
my
on.
God, is this
No, no. Look, Adam, it's not you. It's me. Sitch is a member of the tribe. I'm a member of the tribe.
Oh, okay.
If you have any,
okay.
if you have
I see
any
what it
complaints,
is.
if you have any complaints, I hear Academic Agent is forming a support group.
Oh my God.
Yeah, listen, Goy. Okay.
My goodness, I'm gonna get stuck with Quackademic Agent. Ouch.
Yeah, what's up?
Look, I'll be a Nazi within a year. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anyways,
he'll pull you to sensible centrism.
That's what he started as, what he claimed to start as, which is so sad.
Yes.
Okay. So while I was busy getting riled up by Danimal, I believe you had a conversation with Blaine.
Are you arguing with Danimal in the waiting room?
He's literally just in the waiting room there to rile people up before they talk to you guys.
Oh, Danimal, what are you doing? Get him out of there. He's pulling a Kurt Metzger. What's happening?
So can you just give me a quick summary of what you talked about with Blaine?
Blaine agreed with everything that we said. He said he was in favor of the tracing of bullets, and he didn't mind how much paperwork he would have to fill out to actually buy those bullets.
And that technology clearly exists and is possible. Yeah.
And he said he'd be happy that he could lower the crime and that criminals would not get a hold of these weapons.
He also said that he thought that people only like guns because they have small dicks.
Yes.
So, which I thought was very offensive. And
I can't provide scientific evidence, but anecdotally.
Oh my God. No.
Very good.
Okay. So, all right. First, I just want to make sure I have your position down correct.
Mm-hmm.
So you believe that a gun registry as well as an ammo registry would allow police to better solve gun crimes, and as a result, that would form a deterrence against further gun crimes.
So my understanding is that we basically already have a gun registry.
Okay, so at the federal level, a gun registry is not allowed legally speaking. However, the ATF has collected approximately 1 billion firearm purchase records and has made 866 million of those records available online for police to use. So it's not quite a gun registry,
but it's close enough.
De facto-ish one, and it's being challenged in the court system right now.
Interesting.
But then you go to different states. Different states will have different registries. Some states will have a registry, some states won't. So I know you went over, state of Florida does not allow a registry. State of Louisiana does not allow a registry, but makes it illegal to knowingly sell a firearm to a felon. So each state has its own different thing.
I think that's like every state, isn't it? You're not like knowingly allowed to sell a gun to a felon.
For the most part, yes. Some states will have different punishments for it that basically kind of render it toothless or make it effective.
Oh, okay.
So I know I sent you guys a bunch of articles earlier today. I don't know if you had a chance to go over them or not. Okay, fine. So we'll break it down. So I guess I'll first tackle the topic of whether or not gun registries are actually effective. And I'll start with the bullet registry. So state of Maryland and the state of New York in the early 2000s implemented what was called the bullet fingerprint database.
Mm-hmm.
Every firearm that got sold in those states had to first fire a round that was then shipped to the police station and stored in a forensic database, so that if the police came across casings at the crime scene, they could match it to casings in their database and then identify what gun fired that casing.
I feel like that wouldn't work technologically.
Well, after 15 years, both states have shut down those programs because they just didn't work.
Yeah. Well, they didn't work. Like, I feel like the technology that just doesn't make sense. Not that it wouldn't work like if the technology did work.
Well, the technology did make sense. It's scientifically sound because each gun leaves a different impression on a bullet that's been fired. So the science is valid. The issue is that the police were never using it to actually solve the crime. In these situations, the police already knew what gun they were looking for, and this was just confirming a bias that they already had.
Well, when you say the gun, do you mean like the person's gun or like the type of gun?
The person's gun.
Okay, so you're saying every gun crime situation in this state, they knew who fired the bullet?
When they were able to collect the bullet for forensic scanning.
Mm-hmm.
which they were not always able to collect the rounds for forensic scanning. Overall, they had amassed more than 300,000 different bullet casings, one from basically every handgun that had gotten stolen in the state. In total, they were able to get a successful conviction over 15 years about 3 times. So, this is wildly ineffective.
I just feel like there's like a lot more information about this because that I need to know, because if you're saying that like, well, every time that they were able to correctly ID the ammo, they already knew. Well, how did they already know? There's some other factor here, right?
Well, because they had already, based on the facts of the case. It's not like, I'll look up the exact articles. So here it is. The results aren't in, but in all 3 cases, investigators already suspected that a certain gun was used. This is from the Baltimore Sun. There was an article by Washington Post about this, but I'm not paying money to those guys, so I'm cheap.
Well, okay, fair enough. You can usually, if you go to archive.is, you could search for a saved screenshot of it. So,
fair enough.
But okay, I don't know. I just feel like I'd have to know more about this. This sounds
no, it's fair, but
weird to me.
Overall, I guess my point is that for tracking ammunition, like, it's just wildly ineffective. And the other reason ammunition in this case would be wildly ineffective is because
you're saying wait. You're saying it's like the case you're citing. It's only ineffective because the police already knew. Like,
well,
so you're not saying that that it wasn't effective. It was effective. It just didn't matter.
Well, so why would you sink millions upon billions of dollars into this if it isn't even going to sway the needle?
Well, first of all, I don't necessarily believe that. I don't know how many gun crimes are unsolved or how quickly they're solved. I believe if you could just pick up a crime scene bullet and pop it in a thing, like right off the bat, first thing you do is you do this and you test it, and it immediately gives you a lead to go on. I do believe these crimes would be solved significantly faster and easier. And I definitely think it would have a massive psychological effect on people committing crimes with guns. They'd be far more afraid of getting caught.
I mean, if you have evidence of such a program working, I've looked for other programs similar to Maryland and New York's programs, but I've seen no evidence of such a program actually being able to work.
Crime is like way down. Crime is up, in the short term, but in the long term, crime is way down. And I'm under the impression it's because of everyone has a camera now. So that's like a disincentive for people to commit crimes. There's cameras everywhere.
I agree. That leads me more into the moral side of the argument, where I don't think there is much justification for the cost-benefit analysis when gun crime has already just been on a steady decrease. But that's more the moral argument, the effective side.
Right, but the moral argument would rely entirely on the effectiveness, right? Like if if some state implemented this and they were able to catch every criminal committing a crime with a gun, and then you saw gun drops by some 90% drop in gun crime or something very quickly in this one area that doesn't exist the rest of the country, and there isn't any other problems that legal gun owners have with purchasing and using ammunition. I mean, what would be the moral consideration against it at that point?
Well, you're assuming that there's no moral conundrum with tracking people's ammunition.
Well, so I'm asking, what would be the moral conundrum at that point?
Well, first of all, you're tracking people's locations and what they're doing. If you're storing this in a database, you can have situations like what happened in the state of California, where the information was accidentally leaked online, thus exposing private information of 200,000 gun owners in the state of California. The other issue is I have yet to see an example where a gun registration has not led to gun confiscation. If you have an example of that, I'd love to see it, but I've yet to see one.
Well, I mean, you said that the ATF has this de facto gun registration. They haven't taken everyone's guns, right?
That is not actually true because, for instance, the ATF just recently reclassified their pistol brace. Where they basically rendered a bunch of Americans into criminals overnight. The state of New York, for example, has a gun registry, and they actually got sued because they updated their law that would change the definition of a rifle, and then their registration system basically declared thousands of Americans as criminals overnight because of their registration system and their law getting updated.
So
I think it is fair to say, given historical context, that gun registrations are used for gun confiscation.
Well, okay, so I guess we're talking about something different. Like, so obviously it could be used for that. If a state or the federal government passes a new law that is, a law that is found to be legal, and it says, "Hey, we've decided that this type of gun is no longer legal," and they're going to say, "Hey, well, we know that you have this because of it was registered to you. You need to turn it into the government or whatever." I don't see any problem with that. What's wrong with that?
I do have a problem with it. Well, first off, that comes into which gun laws you think are allowed, and if government should be allowed to ban wholesale AR-15s. I mean, do you have that position?
I don't think they. I don't think they should. I think the whole AR-15 is a total red herring.
So then, why would you need to register AR-15?
Well, because you have to register all guns.
But why? I mean, this leads into the question.
Well, as Blaine, Blaine's. It sounded like when we were talking to Blaine, he said something like, I think he said something like 80% of people that commit gun crimes or something, they can find out who. I don't know what he exactly said. I don't want to put words in his mouth. But it sounded like he was saying that using the ATF's pre-existing de facto gun registration allows them to catch a shit ton of criminals already.
I have not seen any evidence of that. In fact,
we could talk to him about it because that seemed to be what he was saying.
Because one of the things I sent you was multiple studies by the RAND Corporation, and where they conducted meta-analysis of various gun control studies. And every analysis shows gun registration has a limited to inconclusive effect on actually preventing any of the crime that you're trying to talk about. More effective measures are usually going to be safe laws or child access prevention laws or things like that. Those do have a bulk of evidence and merit more discussion than gun registration. So, especially since a gun safe law doesn't have a risk of leading to gun confiscation later down the line.
So I know your time is up because CT's in here.
No, Dagger's in the back.
But let me just say before you go, I would assume that it depends on what type of crime we're talking about. I mean, I think this is kind of the problem. I don't think, obviously like gun registration stuff and bullet registration wouldn't stop school shootings at all, the way that, having laws that maybe prevent kids or making it so you have to have your guns locked up would maybe help prevent that. Obviously different types of crimes are going to be, prevented by different types of laws. But I think the broader philosophical issue, which we can't get to right now, but maybe we'll at some point in the future, is that, it sounds like you're saying that, if you think if the government passes a law that you don't agree with, you should be able to essentially just violate it, not through going the normal court system, but just on your own. Just say, oh, fuck that. It's not true.
Well,
or I don't agree with that.
Whoa, hold on. That's not, all right, before CT kicks me, all right, that's not my position. My fundamental position, are you familiar with the Bruin case, Bruin v. New York?
Blaine brought it up.
We are now. No.
Yeah.
So basically, Justice Thomas, and I agree with his position, in no uncertain terms, the right to keep and bear arms is on the same footing as the First Amendment, the Third, Fourth, Fifth, and whatnot.
I agree. Yeah.
So, therefore, it has to pass strict scrutiny. The government has to show a compelling interest, and it has to show that the law is narrowly tailored. Right. And I don't think a gun registration passes either of those requirements.
Right. So what
that is
I
my
would
fundamental position.
Okay. Well, before you go, what I would say is so say in the theoretical situation you talked about, where say like the state, you're in New York, they have a gun registry, they pass a law, that makes some type of gun that was legal illegal. So they come and they knock on your door and they take your guns, they grab your guns, right? But then, so you go, oh, what the fuck? So you go to court and, it takes, 2 years, but you go to court, you go to the Supreme Court says, hey, the state of New York, it was completely out of bounds to do this. This law violates the Second Amendment. I think at that point that either New York State should have to A, give you back your gun, or B, if they don't have it anymore, pay you whatever the amount is for you to go and buy a new one.
Well, yes,
that
obviously
would be
I'm
the
not.
process. So.
Look, obviously I've already mentioned it before. I'm an off. All right, first off, I forgot to say this at the beginning. Since it's known I'm in the military, all right, I don't speak for the Army. I don't speak for the Department of the Army, Department of Defense, or any unit or organization.
Oh.
However, obviously, since it's known I'm in the military, I'm not going to advocate for people to break the law.
Okay, fair enough.
Fight it out.
I didn't mean to imply that you
okay.
were. Okay.
I am not advocating for that position.
Gotcha. Yeah, right.
And Blaine also wants me to clarify 80% of the traces found the gun owner, not that they stopped the crime, nor did it lead to convictions of any sort.
Okay. But still it means that it's still effective at figuring out some key information about the crime, right?
No, not necessarily. It just found the owner, and the owner then had reported the gun was stolen. So it didn't actually lead to a conviction.
Not every single one of those owners, right? Some amount of them would say it was stolen. Some amount of them would be arrested because they were the people that committed the crime.
Well, the question then becomes, what's the conviction rate?
I don't know the answer.
He was referring to was the likely finding of the owner, not a conviction rate, which is right. But
it definitely helps. Definitely seems to help. But anyway,
I'm looking at New York State versus Bruin. What? So
yes.
This is about background checks and conceal carry weapons.
So what's the case in question?
Yeah, what's the takeaway?
So the case in question, New York State had what was called a May issue permit system. You could apply for a concealed carry permit.
Just give me the one sentence. I don't want to follow around the details of the case. Like, obviously the Heller case was, they made a law that they couldn't they found unconstitutional. But in the case, they said you can make laws, you can make gun laws. They didn't widely interpret the Second Amendment, but they just said this particular law is unconstitutional. What was the takeaway in this case that changes that?
Okay, so Heller v. DC set up a 2-rule system that basically meant if the conduct was protected by the Second Amendment and if the state's reasoning for restriction outweighed the burden. That was what Heller v. DC set up.
Okay.
Bruin throws that out the window and says, no, that's no longer what's allowed. You can only pass gun laws that follow the history and tradition of gun laws in the U.S.
Well, this is the contention on Heller, because Heller used a traditionalist interpretation of the Constitution, but they actually got the tradition wrong. The tradition is, you leave your guns at the border before you even come into the city. That's the tradition.
No, that was.
No, that is the tradition. Yeah. No, that's a historical tradition.
No, not within regards to Bruin.
The irony of Heller is that Heller said we should use a traditionalist interpretation of the Constitution, but they got the actual history wrong. The history of gun control in America is far stringenter than today.
I'm not quite sure where you're getting that.
Well, no, I'm saying literally there was, cities that didn't allow firearms within city limits. That was like a law.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they were. Well, okay, so here's the issue with Heller. Heller was a landmark case because it was the first time the Second Amendment had actually been brought to the Supreme Court to set a standard.
No, I agree.
For
the
constitutionality.
Right, and the gun
there was only
people
one
wanted
other case
them to
before
say
that.
the gun people wanted Heller to say that all gun legislation was illegal, and that all basically anyone could do anything that they wanted with a gun, and Heller didn't say that. So
we're like way over time.
Okay,
why don't we do a gun conversation? You and Blaine can come on, argue with me and Adam at some point in the future. We'll have a gun conversation.
Well, let's definitely do it, because I'm interested in this stuff, and I think the irony of the Heller case is pretty fascinating as well, because
my thing is that you have to throw Heller out. Heller no longer is the common law within this court system.
I see, because you're saying because of Bruin.
You think Bruin overturns Heller?
they explicitly state that they overturn Heller.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll look into it. We'll talk about it in the future. Thanks for coming on. So
yeah, totally.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Take care.
Take care.
Will do.
Okay. About to have our gun conversation at some point in the future.
Yes. Yeah. There's a bunch of
causing problems, Adam.
Well, there's a bunch of it's interesting to me because there is a bunch of historians came in after Heller and said, "Oh man, they got this all wrong. Like the government was very, very strict about controlling firearms." Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. So maybe not. I mean, usually when people kind of bring up the sort of like originalist historical position, they don't mean what were the laws at the time or the laws earlier. They mean like what was the intention of the people writing the law, right? So maybe that was the argument, the counter argument.
But normally when the Supreme Court case comes, there's like the originalists versus the living document people, right? In Heller versus DC, both sides took the originalist interpretation and argued over what the history was. So that's just an interesting divergent, right? So obviously it wasn't a debate over the originalist interpretation because they're both using the originalist interpretation, but they can't. How do they both come to the opposite conclusions using the same determination?
Yes.
One of them has the history wrong.
True. Who was the person? I said someone else could come in if we have time for a couple of minutes.
Oh, okay.
It was Christian, I think.
I don't
Christian
know
Baller.
I don't know that we have time, but
do you have time to talk to Christian Baller for 10 minutes about sex and gender?
I mean, if it's 10 minutes, I have time, but
okay.
We got a bunch of super chats to read too, so.
Yeah, well, okay, so I'll start reading super chats. If Christian wants to jump into the waiting room area, or if CT can drag him in the waiting room area, we'll talk to him for 10 minutes about sex and gender.
Sex and gender. What do I know about sex and gender?
What do I? Mystery guest 01 for $100. Thank you so much. It's very generous of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Jacob Muniz for $2. Thank you so much for the $2, Jacob, for your first ever super chat. Cake Sauce for 9 months. Thank you so much. Says thanks for doing a Thursday show. You both rock. Well, thank you for being a member. You rock.
Yeah, thanks for joining in.
Stug for $2 says, I will only debate local realism with you right now, Sitch.
Local realism. That's
Stug said he was gonna
your term.
No. He's not talking about what you think.
Oh, okay.
He's not talking about
objective
local
morality
versus objective morality. No.
Local objective universal
No. He's talking about how I always say I don't understand the whole quantum physics observer phenomenon thing. So he said he's going to explain it to me one of these days. So. Nilo, also Lord of the Nerds, also Lord of the Brains, for $2, says maybe restate your general position for starters. Well, I assume that came out during the conversation. Well, I don't know, maybe it didn't. For another $5, Nilo says, please restate your position. I feel like asking people to email a position spread out over 20 hours is a bit much. Well, I feel like my position was said many times in those calls. My position was that if the government is going to be, asking the private companies like Facebook and Twitter to take down things that are not illegal, all those things should have to be completely transparent and open to the public. Number one. Number two, I have not seen any evidence, and I do not believe that the government, number one, directly asked Twitter or Facebook to censor the Hunter Biden story, nor do I believe that the FBI or whomever intentionally gaslit Facebook or Twitter through some sort of year-long gaslighting campaign to get them to wink, wink, nudge, nudge, take down the Hunter Biden laptop story. I don't believe that happened either. or that was the intention of the FBI to do something like that. That's my position.
CT says, "Yep, Danimal is just in voice chat to rile everyone up. He's doing great."
There you go.
That's hilarious.
What's happened with Christian?
I don't know.
Christian, where are you?
But it's okay. We can keep reading.
Also, you should send. I should send them to you. Asif Artsy sent 2 pictures.
Oh, I know. I saw he was. Oh man, he was getting you. He was putting the screws to you.
Well, listen, Asif, I like your pictures, but you always forget. You send them to me. You gotta send them to Adam as well.
Well, he doesn't send them. He doesn't send them to me because I'm not in them, and I'm like, delete.
Adam has the power to put them up, so
he sends them to me, and I'm like, oh, I'm not in this.
Right.
Bye.
Well, I sent them to you. Adam. So
I got them. I got them from when he sent them to me.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just kidding. I don't.
I sent them to you just now.
I don't care that I'm not. I don't care that I'm not in them. Where's my cry? Where's my cry eyes?
There you go.
I gotta have it on the fly. Oh, here it is. Oh, I don't care that I'm not in them. It's okay. I don't care that you're just doing Sitch art. It's not.
He's done Adam art.
It's not a big deal that he always makes. He makes me look old.
Yeah, you would complain because he makes you look old because he makes your mustache look gray or something.
It's not a big deal. I don't.
Yeah, okay.
I'm fine. I don't care.
So Asif did this picture. This is the enlightened centrist position, and I love it. There's me saying I hate everyone. There you go. That is actually, when I do the face reveal, you're gonna see that's the room that I'm in right now. Whenever I stream, it's just like this void of enlightenment.
What are you doing for a background? How's it looking?
It looks like that.
Have you got a camera yet? Can we do this some test runs?
I haven't got a camera yet. No.
Oh, okay.
I'm still working on lighting. I finally got someone to come to do the lights.
Oh, okay.
Fix the lights in the room. So
nice.
So that step will be accomplished soon.
Yeah.
Even though there were some very nice people who DM'd me, including one person who's an electrician who was like, "Sitch, just send me a picture. I'll walk you through." And I thought about it. I was like, if this person doesn't respond in like a couple days, I'm gonna DIY it. So.
Someone hit me up in the comments and said, I work at a printer. Hit us up. We'll help you print the comic. So I was like,
there you go.
Yeah, okay. Are you in LA? Are you in Los Angeles? If anyone's in Los Angeles and works at a print shop that can help us print the comic,
that's awesome. Yeah,
reach out to me.
And this is accurate. This is all the protection gear that I had on just to change the light switch in the room.
What a
That is true. I had these giant gloves. I had the little face shield. I had, insulated boots. It's true. I had all that stuff. That's exactly what it looked like.
I'm usually in my boxer shorts with flip flops. I'm like, let me at it. I'll fix this electricity.
I was in I had like a full hazmat suit that was also grounded. So, I wanted to make sure I didn't also maybe get COVID. There could have been COVID behind the light switch when you unscrew it from the wall. You never know. So.
COVID does travel in the electrical wires.
Right.
Dr. Fauci told me that. Look, now we're going to get a thing under our video that says COVID does not travel.
I know.
So obvious.
Andrew Clark for 2 hours says, Bob EFAP'd a leftist MCU video. It was interesting.
Really?
You mean OC? Organized Chaos
Optical
Bob?
Character Read. OCR. Organized Chaos.
Organized Chaos. Interesting. Did he disagree with it? That's what it sounds like you're saying. He disagrees with it. Or did he agree with it? I don't know. His content's super boring. It's hard for me to watch it, but... Kyle Petty. Hey, there's Kyle. Thanks so much for the 6 months. Says, any chance I could get on this? I'm Sono Zode on Discord. Well... ask and you shall receive. Oshtasy for $20. Thank you so much. Says I was gonna get in on this, but I have to work to afford these super chats. Maybe if the stream goes on long enough. Well, sorry, Oshtasy. Next time we'll do like a normal call-in soonish, hopefully. So because a lot of people want to talk to us about other things that were not related to the Twitter file stuff. Dialogue Always. It's the real Dialogue Always. Look at that. For $5, says Cheeseballing, what's up, man? Well, there you go. I know I've seen you guys go back and forth on Twitter pretty aggressively. So
who, me? And who?
Dialogue Always and Cheeseballing.
Oh, okay.
So.
Oh yeah, Cheeseballing's one that always tags Dialogue Always.
Yeah, he's always tagging us.
I forgot about that. Starting shit with us on Twitter.
Yeah. Stug for $2 says, Sitch, I don't think you were loud enough there. Thank you, Stug. I'll try to be a little louder next time. Nilo for $2 says, FBU don't confirm crimes are found. What? Oh, I'm assuming you mean FBI. FBI doesn't confirm crimes are found? I don't understand what you're asking me. What I said was, I think what you're trying to say is, so the FBI, like, if there's a news story about something, right? About like the Hunter Biden laptop story, it wouldn't be within the purview for the FBI to just come out and say like, well, there's a news story about the Hunter Biden laptop. So we're the FBI. We're going to come out and we're going to say that it's legitimate. Like that, the FBI would never do something like that. I don't believe the FBI has ever done anything like that. Well, actually, no. So they did something like the last time they did something like that with the election. It caused all that problem because remember that was kind of the thing. There was all the news story about the Hillary Clinton emails, Anthony Weiner laptop, and then Comey came out. And the reason Comey came out was only because he wouldn't do it normally. It was only because Bill Clinton had his tarmac meeting with what's-her-face, the Attorney General at the time. That was obviously highly corrupt and suspicious. And Comey came out and made that statement. That's the only reason why he did make that statement about that. And a lot of people think that changed the course of the election and caused a huge fuck-up. So, no, the FBI generally doesn't do that. And especially about election stuff, I think they'd be super gun-shy considering what happened in 2016. So, no. I don't think the FBI does that now, and I think it's weird that people think that's what the FBI does that because the FBI doesn't. But I do think, as I said in the conversation, that morally, if the FBI was telling Twitter and Facebook, "Hey, there's going to be a hack and leak campaign," and then a story comes out and the FBI didn't mean for that to be the hack and leak that they were talking about, I do think that since they were saying that it would be a moral obligation for the FBI to tell Twitter and Facebook privately, hey, if Twitter and Facebook asks, obviously, hey, we know that there is a laptop. We don't know what copy the New York Post had, but we know that there is a laptop that has some of that information and that it wasn't hacked and that it, was gotten through a normal channel. I do think the FBI should have told them that because of the previous information they told Twitter. The interesting thing to me is that when we're talking about this, no one has brought up, well, they haven't brought it up because it's not relevant to the government. But no one brought up to me like the number one key factor here about why Twitter and Facebook obviously fucked up royally in this situation. You know what that is, Adam?
What is it? Wow, Twitter fucked up?
Yeah.
In
What's the
this
one thing that...
situation? Well, go ahead.
So if Twitter and Facebook are going to take down something for being hacked, shouldn't they have to wait for the aggrieved party to complain to them that it was hacked?
Yeah. That's what led to suspicion over the whole thing. It was like everyone was saying, well, it's not hack material. How do you know it's hack material?
Right, because I mean, I don't
the FBI
believe...
gaslight us into believing it was hack material.
I don't believe that Hunter Biden ever called up Twitter or Facebook and said, "Hey, that's my information. It was hacked from me." I don't believe they ever made, or that looks like it could be my information was hacked. I don't believe they ever happened. So if the party that is supposed to be the victim of the hacking doesn't tell Twitter and Facebook that they were hacked, what fucking grounds could they have to remove the information for being hacked? To me, that's preposterous.
I mean, but Hunter Biden could have been on like a bender for days and didn't even know. So,
well, I don't think anyone from the Biden camp ever said that it was hacked, because obviously they wouldn't want to, because by doing so they'd have to admit that maybe that was real information, right? So, but I don't think they should be able to. I don't think Twitter or Facebook should be able to censor the story if the person doesn't even complain about it. To me, that's ridiculous.
Trump brought up that his Biden's son, the drug addict, in the debates between him and Biden gave some sob story about how he's had trouble with drugs and he's trying to get over it. That's kind of a I mean, that's kind of a bad framing from a political point of view.
Well, what else are you gonna? There's no other way to spin it, right?
Well, no, the whole Hunter Biden story is about corruption, and Trump didn't spin it as corruption.
You mean Trump did spin as corruption? What do you mean?
Well, maybe I'm misremembering. What did he actually say in the debate? I'm not sure.
What? I don't remember.
Did he
what
call
Trump
it?
said.
Did he say he had a corrupt son that was on the board of Burisma and all that stuff? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I feel like all he did was say, "Oh, you," like he gave some side comment about how you've got some drug addict son.
Okay.
I mean, it'd be interesting to go back and look
Maybe
at that.
he did.
Yeah.
But you're right. That would be stupid for him to. If he did say that, it'd be stupid for him to fixate on that.
Yeah, because the framing is, it's almost more insidious if Hunter Biden is not a drug addict and he's on the board of Burisma and he's got his shit together and getting bribed. I mean, it looks more like he's getting bribed if he's not a just total idiot.
Nilo for $5 says, if the FBI operated like Sitch defends them, then the old Italian families would have never been dismantled. Clearly, his level of trust is very high. So Nilo likes to make vague, broad comments that don't actually make sense or are ever explained. But if he wants to vague post about random things that no one knows what he's talking about. But if you want to pay me, that's fine. I appreciate the $5. Thank you.
Yeah, I like
Devin Go for 4 months says, does this send money or just a question?
It sends just a question. It's a member chat,
It's just
right?
the member chat doesn't send any money. It's just showing that you've renewed your membership. They even canceled your membership.
Yeah.
So then send additional money if that's what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Would be cool if it did. I mean, that'd be cool. No, actually, it wouldn't be because I never even use the thing because I'm always I can't use it without opening the thing up, and then it would be on the stream. It'd be a big mess.
Right.
Yeah.
Bra Moment for 5 months says, FBI agents, when they see Hunter's cock, and can't verify if it's real or not because of election interference. True.
It happens.
Bro Moment came on. It was great.
Yeah.
For $10, he says, sorry for getting a few details in the wrong beginning, but I sometimes spread misinformation and commit acts of tomfoolery. A-team, best team, and Sitch orders bathwater for lubricant.
Oh my God, Sitch!
Wow.
Why would you do that?
Hurtful.
Bathwater? You're in the bathwater club? Really?
Yeah. Yep. Oh, okay. So I see Christian here. Are you ready to talk to him, man?
I guess. I mean,
how do I move him?
You're the sex and gender guy.
Christian, go into join a VChat, and then I can move you into here. Or a CT can do it, but
you can just grab him without consent and move him wherever you want.
I can, but he's got to already be in a VChat for me to non-consensually, touch him.
Toss him around.
RBGH fan for $10 says, in a December 2020 sworn declaration, Twitter's former head of site integrity, Yoel Roth, told the Federal Election Commission that agents warned him of a hack and leak operation that would involve Hunter Biden. Yes, someone brought that up in the conversation, and we talked about that.
Yes.
Flaccid Phoenix for 3 months says, I have a, quote, hack and leak video myself that Jordan Peterson just retweeted recently.
Really? Wow.
Oh, no.
That's
Did
awesome.
you see... So I know we talked about Jordan Peterson tweeted out a video that was obviously pornography and thought it was real. And someone just left and joined. I don't know what happened. And then he also apparently tweeted out some pictures. Someone made a fake picture of Shoe on Head. They were pretending like Shoe on Head was a detransitioner.
No way.
And Jordan Peterson retweeted it.
No way. Everyone's just screwing with Jordan Peterson.
I know. Poor JBP.
Yeah. Ouch.
So.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. I feel.
I know.
I don't know what to think. But, there's only hours and hours and hours of content of us supporting Jordan Peterson out there, which is now going to be used
It is
against
what it
us.
is.
But
it is what it is.
Whatever.
Hello.
What's up, Christian? How you doing?
Hey, Adam, Sitch. How you guys doing? Sorry, I was busy paying my yearly tithe to the federal government so they don't throw me in a cage. But,
yeah, that's always
I got that all
painful.
taken care of. It actually was a lot less than I was expecting, so it turned out very, very well.
Yeah.
But
Ouch.
so Adam, I was super curious. I know you do claim that you do believe there is a sort of usefulness for keeping the term gender or this concept of gender. And I was just curious what why do you think that is helpful in the delineation between gender and sex versus just saying something like sex-based behaviors or sex-based presentations of physical body? Something where, I know gender was created by John Money, who everyone knows was a fucking pedophile and all-around creep. Which I'm not going to say that just because it started as one thing, it didn't become something else. But it seems to have done so much harm, just having this concept. And people have, as John said earlier, last stream, it's kind of been used as this Trojan horse to bring in all these negative ideas. So I'm just curious as to what your thoughts are as to what the positive usefulness of it is still today.
Well, first of all, even if I said, look, the word gender is never going to cross my lips again. I swear to God, and I make a declaration. People in the world are still going to continue to use gender long after I'm gone, long after all of us are gone. So my opinion on this is pretty much meaningless. But I do think there is a spectrum between masculine and feminine behavior that is completely detached from someone's biological sex. So I do think you can be a male, a biological male, and present as very feminine. So I do think you can be like a biological male with something we might call a feminine gender. I don't think that changes you from being a biological male. So I think that that's a useful separation because I don't, people want to talk. I mean, it just seems like a pragmatic thing. How do we talk about masculine versus feminine if we get rid of the sex and gender thing that everyone's using already?
Well, so like in my mind, and I super chatted this, I think a couple of weeks ago, is this idea that we have, like, when people use the word gender and they also say sex, they use the same terminology of male and female. Like, if you ask someone what their gender is, if they're trans, they might say, my gender is female, when, obviously they're a biological male.
Yeah,
so,
but
like,
because they present as because they're feminine. That's actually the correct use.
But like, I think it's the conflating between feminine meaning female, right? Where you classically, if you're a female, you will be more feminine. But just like Sitch talks about this with the non-binary aspect by saying, if you are feminine, then you are female. I think that's kind of where the problem runs in here.
Well, let's not.
I super chatted.
Let's not bring the non-binary thing in. There are two distinct groups that I know that they want sex and gender to mean exactly the same thing. It is the far left trans activists, and it is the far right,
right, like women in the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. They don't think transgender should be a thing or can be a thing. They want to enforce gender stereotypes. That's why they're saying sex and gender are the same thing, because you're like a biological male means you're masculine.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. And that's where, like, where I get offended with things of like trans men, like you see like females who transition to be males, is they act in such a way that I'm like, this is almost reinforcing negative stereotypes about men, that we have to be dark and brooding. Like when I look at Elliot Page, for example, like I just feel like I'm like, this is not what a man has to be to be quote unquote manly.
I agree with that.
And so like I know they kind of toss this around. I see a lot of people like on Twitter will say like, oh, someone's doing woman face, like comparing it to blackface. And obviously I don't think that's a 1-to-1 comparison, but I understand like if someone was a woman and, for example, the Dylan Mulvaney character, and they saw how, I don't want to say obnoxious, but very flamboyantly feminine they're acting, and then saying, I am a female now, how that can be like if someone,
No, you
and this
can't
is what
be.
I super chat a couple weeks ago.
You can't be a female.
So go ahead.
You can't
Right.
be a female.
It's like,
yeah.
It's like if, we put on blackface and we started doing all stereotypical black culture things, and we say, okay, therefore we are black because we are going to live this black experience. Like, no, that's not how it works.
Right.
And we don't have a word to describe the difference between what your race is and the behaviors that you do, because, in a vacuum, obviously race and behavior are not connected. Which, sex and gender are more so. You were going to say something, Adam?
Well, first of all, there is no black culture, despite what FD Signifier thinks. There's a wide range of cultures that blacks.
No, for sure.
There is no white culture. There's a wide range of cultures of various people of various skin colors. But like on the sex and gender thing, give me. This is the problem that I have with this is. Like what's the strategy here? You're obviously advocating for people to think of sex and gender as exactly the same thing. What is your strategy in advocating for that?
So my thought process is is to just basically to not acknowledge the concept of gender at all. Like, so, I always think about, there was the one interview Morgan Freeman had with some guy who was interviewing him, and he's like, well, how do we stop racism, or how do we stop focusing on racism? He's like, we just stop talking about it. I feel like, and this is something Haidt talks about, the more we focus on our differences, the more strife builds. Even if we live in a society where we talk about, we want to celebrate our differences, the more you focus on them, the more they're going to become apparent, the more the strife and the differences are going to bubble up to create conflict.
But I don't know
I'm not saying.
Look, I don't know that this maps onto racism, because is there like a conflict between masculine and feminine people? I mean, I don't necessarily think that's
you talk about the war of sexes all the time.
But that's against men and women, not necessarily against masculine and feminine behavior.
Right. I think it maps onto racism, but in the opposite direction.
Okay.
So
what's your take?
So I do think that we're going to end up needing the concept of gender, because if we just rely on sex, the three of us could have a nice conversation about it, about, well, there are these certain sex traits that men on average have and women on average have, and it's on average, biologically primed probably. Mm-hmm. But the average dum-dum out there who doesn't listen to our show, they're not going to be able, I think, to hold that concept. I think if we get rid of the idea of gender, and we get rid of the idea of like masculine and feminine traits being culturally enforced to some extent, everyone's going to just mean, well, everything is biological. And so I think that's going to lead down the path, or back to the path of men and women need to behave in certain ways, and they have to behave in those ways because biology dictates it. So I think that's how people are going to interpret if we got rid of the concept of gender entirely.
And I mean, I could see that, but you talk about this, Sitch, is like in the early 2000s, we were kind of heading in that kind of not gender neutral society, but the more so like there could be tomboys and more feminine guys, and no one was like, oh, well, you're a woman now because you like all these feminine things. But then
that's where I think
something happened.
Splitting of the concepts is helpful, though, because you can say, listen, you're a masculine gender, but that doesn't change your biological sex. You can be a masculine,
right? But I think the
your
gender
child be a
concept
masculine one.
It's kind of just this the Trojan horse that the bad actors are kind of using as the vehicle to kind of bring in, these kind of Marxian power games between the genders, or it's like Vosh couldn't talk about the trans genocide if John Money didn't come up with this gender idea. Like, who knows? Maybe things could have been way worse if the concept of gender never came to be. But it's hard to imagine.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But with I would say that with the conversation being better in the early 2000s. I mean, it was better because people were still thinking society is creating and pushing gender roles onto people, and so society can just lean off of that and let people do whatever they want.
And I think I'd be curious to hear your guys' perspective on that, on why everything kind of went down the hole. And I think a big thing was social media in general.
Well, we should wrap it up because we're going into 3 hours here, and we're only supposed to go 2 hours. So
it has been 10 minutes, so I don't know if we can answer that question.
No, I understand. I'm just glad you allowed me to come on and talk to you guys. It's always a pleasure. Yeah. I watch you guys and listen to you guys every day while I'm just driving around. And then when there's not a new episode out, I'm just like, all right, well, what am I supposed to do now? And I love you guys so much. I know, Adam, I troll you a lot with the deep fakes, but it's all in good fun. There were some that were a little far.
The last one.
But I think the Derek Chauvin one personally was my favorite. But
that was a good one.
I know that wasn't going to get shown.
That's okay. I know it's in good fun. So,
and that's what's great about you guys. It's you guys know when you're engaging with, especially the audience. It's you're not just gonna, I don't like what you said, ban, right? Mm-hmm. You see this all these far left types. It's you even say anything remotely pushing back, and it's just ban. And even Destiny, who is a little more of a moderate compared to guys like Hassan and Bosch. I mean, it's just you said something stupid, ban. I mean, you're not banning anyone unless it's something egregiously bad.
Right.
So it's just...
I should ban people for being stupid. That's a good idea.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'd love to come back on another time and talk more about the voting thing, Adam. That's the real big thing I want to talk to you about. Maybe do a 2v2, me and Doomer against you guys, but
sure.
I understand that's a whole other conversation. And
okay.
All right, take care, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Christian. Always like your terrible deepfakes.
There will be more to come.
Nice.
Discord always screws with my audio. My audio's so low. And every time I turn it up...
You're too loud.
Every time I turn it up, it turns it down again. Like the little bitch
Discord is. Nilo for $4 says, I don't think anyone ever thought the laptop was fake. I don't remember at the time. I don't think anyone thought... I don't remember. It was
what do you mean?
Years ago.
So many people thought it was fake. Leftists.
I was gonna answer. I don't think anyone thought the entire laptop was fake. I remember there was a lot of people saying they thought that some elements were probably real, but then that maybe they monkeyed with other elements. They added things and they messed with things. Because I remember that was also the complaint about 2016 with those hacked emails. I don't believe that ever I don't think that ever turned out to be true, though. I don't believe we ever saw evidence of emails in those leaks that turned out to be not true. So those fears were mostly unfounded, to my knowledge. But Rezes for £2 says, isn't this just America bad with extra steps? I mean, a little bit.
Yeah.
I like how you said that. Junebug for $2 says, how do I join in? Well, I guess it's too late now. Yeah. We said I put out a tweet and I said it on the last stream. So, and we said we were only going to do 8 people. I think we did 9 or 10. So,
and we said we were only going to go 2 hours, and we went 3 hours and 15 minutes. So,
there you go. Well, I knew it was going to be I knew if we said 2 hours, it's going to be 3 hours. So,
you did?
Yes.
Cheated on me.
Calvin Paffer for $20. Thanks so much. Says usually I'm 18 all the way, but Adam's SBV take was so off point. He has the nerve to offhandedly call out Shapiro for his bad take. Adam even shut down Sitch the other day when he tried to allude to moral hazard. Wow. There you go.
Well, I mean, I didn't try to shut him down, and I did respond in the chat about the moral hazard thing because I just
down.
What? Did I? Are you okay?
No.
I just in the banking situation, the moral they're not allowed to go out and buy Bitcoin with depositor money. I'm like, there's so many regulations in place that are preventing the moral hazard. It just seems like overkill. So
okay.
People make the moral hazard argument, but you got to actually make the moral hazard. You got to say what the hazard is.
So these pictures on screen, the Darth Sitch one, it looks like AI art from Andrew Clark. Looks very cool though.
Yeah.
I like it. Darth Sitch. It's like Darth Cat Sitch. So there you go. Very cool looking. Or maybe that should be Darth Kiddith's new avatar. The buff Sitch is from Commodore Chris. That is what I will look like in the face reveal. That is true. And the last one, the Angry Sitch, is from Zoki, or Zoke, and it's an edit from Pepino from Pizza Tower. Looks very cool. I like it.
Cool.
That's how I felt. That's how I feel most of the time. Perfectly captures my.
Cool. Cool.
Check it out. Cool. Check it out. Have you seen that video?
Cool.
My daddy hits me. No? Okay.
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay. It's a good old internet meme. Lord Cameron for 1 month says the point of the law is to scare criminals straight, not make a criminal of the common man. Terry Pratchett. There you go. Eating your penguin for $5 says you'd create a huge underground market because plenty of people who aren't criminals would want untracked ammo. Well, fuck those people. I don't know what to tell you.
That's a good reason why we should legalize all drugs.
I mean,
to get rid of that underground market.
Right. I don't know what to tell you. Hallucinosis for $5 says abolish the ATF, who serve only to violate our rights. Repeal the NAF, GCA, and FOPA. Amend the Constitution to add civilians bear anything but nukes. Well, there you go. I'm skeptical that will come to pass, but. BW85 for 6 months. Thanks so much. Says the government isn't allowed to keep a list of who owns guns, which would apply to ammo as well. Yeah, that's where it's confusing because that was my understanding, but then we have the ATF that's de facto doing that. I guess it's like, I'm assuming it's something like, oh, they're not allowed to have a list of who owns guns, but they're allowed to have a list of when you buy a gun, right? So it's probably some weird weaselly workaround like that. Massive Dingo for 7 months says, big love to Daddy J-Mac. S-Class is best class. Only when A-Team is being ass. So there you go.
Oh, wow. Only so it's a on-off thing. I like that.
Right. Asayar, thank you so much for the 1 gifted sub. Asayar, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
John A for 7 months says, oh, cool, 7 months. I just point out back to the old Second Amendment and keep pointing, no talking, just point at the plain reading of the Second Amendment. Well, there you go. I don't think that would affect my argument because I'm not restricting anything. And thank you for the 10 gifted memberships, John A. Forking Around for $10 says, how is nuclear hesitancy a good comparison for gun registration? We have recent examples of countries taking away firearms from citizens such as Canada, New Zealand, Australia, not many nuclear ones.
What does that even mean?
Did one of us bring up nuclear hesitancy in the conversation? I don't remember that.
Yeah, I'm confused by what that even means.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by that. I mean, I'm not in favor of the government taking, everyone's guns away, obviously. And we have a Second Amendment in this country. It seems like it's consistently being held up by the Supreme Court to give gun owners pretty strong protection, so I'm not super concerned about the dystopian future taking place in America. Fire Everything for $5 says, Sitch, when are you going to get yourself a VTuber avatar? I guess never, because I'm just going to have a person avatar. So
yeah, it's going to be great. I can't
like everyone
wait.
else. I'm going to muscle in an Adam's territory. No longer can he be the heart of the show.
Yeah. Well, no, when you were getting heated at the very beginning of the show, I was like, God, I wish this was on camera. God.
If you could see me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bra Moment for $2 says, hey, Adam, is there going to be a PG cover? There are PG covers for the comic. There's a censored version, right? And then there's an uncensored version.
For the S class, but you don't have to get the S class. You could get just the regular cover. But if that regular cover is too sexy for you, you probably shouldn't get the book. Because I think there's sexier stuff actually in the book. So,
yeah, the normal cover is not that sexy, is it?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's pretty tame.
That'd be weird. Someone said I should have a green screen so I could have this background that you have now for me, but just in person. That'd be so weird. That'd be very trippy, wouldn't it?
That could be cool though.
I don't know if I'd like that, but JMac for $20 says, I'm gonna make it for sure the next Colin. We can talk about MTG and why blue is the best color objectively. Well, there you go.
I know.
Nice. Blue is the best color. That's my favorite color.
Is it really?
It was.
Oh, okay.
I think it still is. I think blue's still my favorite color.
And the guy I share the studio space with, he one time told me that I should only paint in blue because blue paintings are the most popular paintings. They all like, I thought that was so strange, but now he paints in, super ostentatious colors and stuff like that. So I threw it back at him last time we were painting.
That's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, so if that's true, maybe blue is the best color.
Blue is my favorite color. The only thing that's made me a little bit sour on blue is that blue light sucks. So
yeah.
But I like the color blue.
Yeah. I like
orange. There you go. Asha for $5 says, Sitch, problem with your bullet idea. A gun stays in my possession, bullets do not. I'll be shooting my liability every time I go to the range. Well, I guess, so what would be the fear would be what? You would shoot at the range and then like someone would come and steal your spent rounds and, reload them with stuff. That could happen. I guess it depends.
That's an interesting
Yeah, I guess it would
dilemma.
depend how the technology would work, if that would be possible. If that was possible and that was something that came to be. I don't know. I feel like that wouldn't happen that much because it would basically ruin the gun range's business. If that was if that was a concern, they're like selling, spent ammunition on the side. But maybe that's an argument for why it would be a bad idea. You'd only know if you try. Evan Samus for 10 months says, important aspect of the conversation, hacked and leaked info is legal for journalists to report on. It doesn't matter how the info was obtained if it's true. That's a great point, Evan. That is a good point. And I think that's part of that's a good point. I wish someone brought that up because it's part of like the weirdness of the whole situation. It's totally legal for people to report on hacked info. And if it's totally legal for someone to report on a newsworthy story, isn't it kind of totally fucked up if we have social media saying that you can't report on it?
Yeah,
Definitely.
and I think
that's why Twitter.
Well, I think the TOS they kind of changed a bit too because it was about posting hacked materials, not posting hacked materials in a story.
Well, they did change the TOS. I believe that if the hacked materials relate to some news story, it can be talked about. Because when they created the TOS, they didn't mean it in this context.
Course
they meant
not.
Revenge porn, personal information, things of that nature.
Yep.
So, but yeah, no, I agree. It's a good point. Stephen Preston for $5 says, Adam, please explain how raising rates causes inflation. I'm about to graduate with an econ degree, and that doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so you accept that economic stimulus packages cause inflation, right? When Obama comes out and he spends, $10 trillion, you're like, okay, that's going to cause inflation. Mm-hmm. Well, the higher the deficit is, the more the government is paying out on treasuries. Well, actually, I don't know that the deficit matters. So when interest rates go up, the government is paying money out as interest on treasuries. So that's just money out exactly like any kind of other stimulus. So there's these giant interest payments going out right now because interest rates are high that wouldn't be going out if interest rates were low. So that adds new money to the economy. Do you know what I'm saying, Sitch? Does this make sense?
No, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, no, if the government, well, maybe the deficit does matter because they have to continually refinance the deficit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I sell a bond for 1%, I have to pay 1% on every $1,000, right? But if I sell a bond at 5%, I have to pay 5 times that. And that's all the interest being paid on the government debt is new money being added to the economy. So that's how it would be inflationary, because it's adding new money to the economy.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I had to think about that.
Yeah, pay attention.
To process that.
Yeah.
But okay.
So right now we have I think $31 trillion deficit, right?
Well, yeah,
so
but they don't pay. I guess
if we have a zero interest rate, we're not adding any new money to that $31 trillion. But as soon as we have a 1% interest rate, we're going to start adding 1% to that 31 trillion.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it would depend on how long the maturity rate of the bonds are, right?
Well, that's where I kind of got tripped up, because when they raise interest rates, that means they start selling new bonds at a higher interest rate. So the old bonds, mature, and people can roll over that money. A lot of times when a bond matures, the bondholder wants more interest, so they buy a new bond, right? They're like, okay, the old bond matured, I'm going to buy a new bond at the new rate.
Right.
So that's, I don't know how long it takes for that 31 trillion to roll over into a new bracket. Like, it might be, it's got to be, like, some of the bonds have to mature in like 5 years, 10 years and whatnot, because that's when, you would know this, Steve, you're the econ major. But this is the argument that the MMT economists say. They say that the interest income channel is just like any other stimulus. It's like government spending. It's more government spending. And for some reason, you have to overcome the fact that the higher interest rates hypothetically prevent people from starting new businesses because it costs money to start those new businesses. But if you follow Warren Mosler on Twitter, he's always tweeting out stuff about how the raising of interest rates has not slowed the economy down at all. I think he said we're supposed to grow. I guess we grew 3% in the last quarter, when all of this raising interest rates was to, stop us from growing. We're still growing normally.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever look into the Turkey situation?
I did, yeah, and it's fascinating. So Turkey did raise interest rates like crazy, but there's so much other stuff going on. It's impossible to tell what the situation is, because I guess Turkey has problems with the lira, and most of the Turkish citizens don't even do business in lira. They do it in US dollars, and they have US dollar denominated accounts. Yeah. So they can their central bank can have interest rates at like 50%, but if everyone's doing business in dollars, their interest rates are really at 5%. Right?
Did they raise it or did they lower? I thought they did whatever the MMT people suggested.
Yeah. I don't know if they're doing it based on MMT.
Well, no, yeah, I don't know if they're doing it based on MMT. I thought they didn't raise interest rates.
Oh yeah, you're right. They lowered them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason that they lowered them was because they're Islamic, and there's something about Islamic law that says you can't do interest.
Usury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the guy who took power is a real Islamic hardliner. So that's why it wasn't to do MMT. It was just because, yeah, it was a completely separate thing. So, but it is fascinating. I watched a couple videos on it, but there's so many, like it's multi-factored.
Right.
That I don't.
It'd be hard to pull out how much the interest rate affects inflation because there's so much weird like stuff going on there.
Look, I'm watching closely now to see, just, out of curiosity, if the MMT people are correct. Warren Mosler's hypothesis is that inflation follows interest rates. So as the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates, they're literally raising inflation. Wormy! Did you hear that?
Wormy the fact.
Did you hear that?
Everyone loves it.
Wormy! I'm right here. Look, he's getting old. He's like, I'm lost. Poppy, where are you? He's back. Here he comes back. Yeah, so I don't know if Warren Mosler's right. Warren Mosler's argument is, like, if you wanted to lower inflation, do you think doing a huge government spending package would lower inflation? No, right? Because you're creating brand new money. So what changes when we call that brand new money interest on debt? What changes? Nothing. It's still new money.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go. Your friendly FBI agent for $2. There you go. Says, thanks for backing us up, Sitch. You're a real pro. As a show of thanks, we'll offer you a token for a one free disappearance. That's right. You can make any one person disappear just this once on the house. We'll be in touch. Yes! I don't want to tell you guys, but that was why I was shilling for the FBI so hard, was all to get that. There's this one person. There's this one person in my neighborhood. Very annoying. Okay?
Who is it? Really?
Always putting their stuff in my garbage can, and I keep telling them not to do it. And they keep doing it, and finally, there will be retribution.
You should put a note that says, just write a note that says, I know where you live on the top, and put it right on top of your garbage there. So when they open the lid up, it says, I know where you live.
There you go.
And
That's a good idea.
Put a picture of a guy with like a knife.
So what I was going to do if I didn't get the FBI disappearance was I was going to put my garbage can out with a confetti bomb in it. So when he opened it, it would just... So, but this government disappearance is a better option. So I think I didn't really decide that they should be disappeared until when I complained about them, they said, listen, it's just not a big deal. Let me get you a pop from the fridge and we can hash this out. And I was like, that's it. Now he's got to go. McGore for $2 says, having just filed my taxes 2 hours ago, it definitely feels like theft or at least extortion. Also, if you do a call-in stream about fighting a horse-sized duck, I'll jump in on that. There you go. Thank you, McGore.
All right.
That's true.
It is painful.
It is. Strawman Steven for $2 says, Sitch believes... Strawman Steven, I like that. For $2 says, Sitch believes it is totally fine if the FBI literally kidnaps the CEO of Twitter and holds him or her hostage to get them to ban conservatives as payment for his or her safe return to Silicon Valley. True. You know what? That's a good thing. We're going to need, okay, I don't know if I ever put it in. We need the bad faith Barry emoji, good faith Gary, and now we have Strawman Steven. I like that. Strawman Steven for $2 says, Adam believes that the government should give infinite dollars to everyone, just so that nobody is poor anymore. He thinks that as long as the dollars are printed, everyone will be able to own their own planet.
That is true, a good strawman right there.
Yeah, it's pretty true. McGore for $2 says, on SVB, I think it'll cascade enough that I opened a short position on other banks. Not financial advice. I just like to gamble. I typically lose money, so if you copy me, it's because you like the hurt.
Did he say he shorted the other banks?
He did.
That's insane. What are you talking about? I was buying the banks.
Can you listen to him? He's a big Johnny Cash fan. He likes to hurt himself.
Yeah, they were down. Banks were down a lot. and they're going to get a lot of those deposits from the regional banks.
Andrew Clark for 2 hours says, Adam, you need to switch to Stable Diffusion. I haven't done it yet, but you can train it with your own art collection to get more accurate AI art. So feed it a bunch of Sitch art and it'll produce a Sitch you can be proud of.
Yeah, I have Stable Diffusion. Stable Diffusion's a shit.
There you go. He's already ahead of you. Magor for $2 says, ammunition floats around a lot more than gun. If I'm going shooting with my friends, we often share pool ammo. If I take some of my friends' 9mm home, then murder my wife, my friend is in trouble. It's too much friction. Well, but, I mean, you'll just have to change that behavior. What else to talk? The most dope for $2 says, couple debate ideas I think would be a great content. Destiny on children transitioning. He seems to support it. Also, Sargon and how the Lotus Eaters is becoming more and more anti-liberal. Some hosts explicitly say they are.
Did you see the video they posted on Enlightened Centrist being like dog shit?
I saw that the video existed. I didn't watch it. What did they say in the video?
Well, I didn't watch it either. I mean, I clicked on it. I watched a little bit of it, but it seemed like just clickbait. They weren't really.
What's the thing? I don't want to comment. I don't know what they said in it, but it seemed like it was an anti-enlightened centrist video. I'll have to watch it so I can DM Carl and go, oh, what? How dare you? Regarding Disney Destiny on children transitioning, I was listening to a conversation Destiny had with Not So Erudite and Taftage, and I believe his position was he thinks there's too vague or too many people that are trans trenders, essentially, that are clogging up the system. However, if we could determine who the real people with gender dysphoria are, then it would be okay with them transitioning. Which I think that's a fine position to have. Now the question would be if we can determine that, which currently I don't think we're in a good space to do so.
Right. And I don't know what space he thinks we're in. I mean, that's kind of our position. Like, obviously, we accept that there are trans people who are going to have crippling gender dysphoria, and it's probably going to be better for them to transition. Just a historical record, based on the historical record. That's happened in the past. So, but we obviously people are getting massively overdiagnosed. I listened to part of that conversation, but like Destiny's playing this game in the background and it's just so annoying. And so I went and I looked for it on someone else's channel and I couldn't find it. So
it's on I think it's on Not So Erudite's channel too.
Yeah. Okay.
When you're watching it, you usually just listen to stuff.
Yeah, but
or is it just the sound
it's so
effects
loud. I'm like, oh my God.
So
I feel like I'm in NAM and I'm listening to this stupid debate.
That's so fun. He was playing StarCraft, so you can hear all like the little mutalisks fucking screams and explosions and shit.
It was just super weird. I was like, wow,
that's hilarious.
So I bugged out, but yeah, Not So Erudite, I think has kind of an unrealistic position on the trans stuff. So
yeah, did you watch the debate that she had with Taft and Brianna Wu and all those other people?
Maybe I saw part of it.
But she said that she thought, and this is why I agree with her on a lot of stuff, but this is where I disagree with her. She was saying that she thought most of the studies in the literature on children transitioning showed a positive and that it was still worth doing. And I don't think that is what the information shows. I think the information is far more nebulous.
Yeah. Yes. So. I completely agree. And she said, you got to search for the studies on both sides. And I'm like, so you're supposed to, I don't think that's, both sides are doing, if people are politically motivated who are doing the studies, it doesn't matter what side they're on because the study's going to be crap.
Sure. Right.
You can't really determine anything from it. It's like, oh, look, we did this study and it turns out the affirmative model works for everyone because you fucked with the study.
Oh, it's interesting. We'll bring this up when we talk to Brianna on Sunday. Destiny tweeted out something That was hilarious. It was our good friend PhilosophyTube tweeted out, probably, I don't know what they're responding to, because it's a picture. It says, probably because, quote, gender dysphoria was made up based on unreliable data by a bunch of cis doctors, multiple of whom have since been disgraced. We shouldn't need some cis person's fantasy diagnosis to transition. The fact that we want to do it is enough.
Brianna tweeted that out?
No, PhilosophyTube tweeted that out.
Okay.
And so that conforms with, the video we watched, where PhilosophyTube essentially said, she doesn't think people should be able to should even need a diagnosis to transition at all. So Destiny tweeted this out, basically saying it's a pretty sad day when one of the largest trans creators online outs themselves as a transgender.
That's hilarious.
That's a good tweet. But so what we'd ask Brianna, because Brianna, it's pretty good.
That's hilarious.
Brianna Wu replied to that saying, there's literally no person that medically transitioned in the 70s, 80s, 90s, or aughts that didn't benefit from the professional guidelines developed by Harry Benjamin that PhilosophyTube is attacking. HRT needs to be carefully supervised by an endocrinologist.
Yeah, this is what they were saying in that book. The endocrinologists, the Tavistock book I'm reading, the endocrinologists were just getting pissed because they felt like they were just, forced to sign off on these things when they were going, this treatment is not right for this person. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So also seems like Brown was taking the anti 100% affirmative care position, which is interesting. So we'll ask her about that.
Yeah.
Blaine's Escape Corner for $2 says ranges sell the ammo in the berms as it is. That's true. And there'd have to be some documentation that would have to be on a computer, some very onerous, egregious documentation that'd be like, here's the ammunition that the store has, and then you're purchasing it, so they're putting your name on it. So, but that would be good because that'd also protect you, because then if a gun shop did sell your spent shells back and you said, oh, I didn't commit this crime, the gun, I bought it from this, the gun store, they could go and police could investigate that too. So, where was I? Forking Around for $5 says, in your previous stream, you talked about gun registration and the fear of government overreach being compared to nuclear fear. I did?
Sitch, how dare you?
I don't remember. Was I talking about like the fear of like of being nuked, or it's not like the fear of nuclear reactors melting down? I don't remember what I said. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. No one cares. I don't even remember it. Just kidding. Thank you so much for the $5 and your very first super chat. Said I was on earlier talking about the FBI sowing discord in the BLM riots. Look up the Alphabet. Oh, that was you. Look up the Alphabet Boys podcast episode 10. Awesome. We'll check it out. Alphabet Boys podcast episode 10.
You have to type
We'll check it out. Thanks.
I just copy and paste.
I'm not really sure I would understand the FBI's motivation for doing that action, but I'll definitely look into it. Anyways.
Yeah, Edward Stone he worked for the NSA, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that they never talk about Edward Stone as like the NSA has a history of fighting for Americans, fighting for the privacy of Americans, right? How come nobody says that?
True. Oh, before we go, I had recently, I don't know why I only saw it recently, like a month ago, Destiny had a conversation with 3 journalists who worked with Matt Taibbi, Michael Schellenberg on some of the Twitter file stuff. And I'll be honest, it made me lose a lot of faith in a lot of their journalism.
Me too.
Related to the Twitter files. Like, I know that a lot of these people are not used to streaming. They're not used to having these like verbal debates. So some of it could be like debate bro brain. Some of it could be just Destiny out talking people. But they did, I would say that most of them, there are 3 of them, and they have different opinions on things, but I'd say that they did, I think, very poorly in that conversation in terms of defending their work. And I don't I mean, I think Destiny takes a far more, he thinks that he was classifying the Twitter file stuff as basically just PR for Elon Musk. I think that's going too far, but I think he did out significant flaws in their methodology that they didn't really have good answers to at all.
Well,
in
and they weren't really
conversation.
thinking. It's like their brains shut off because they wanted the story so bad. They weren't thinking of all the different ways. They went through the ways that Twitter disseminated the information to them, and I thought, oh, well, that's totally easy to fake. But they seemed to like not even think that was a possibility. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat if anyone wants to watch it. It's definitely worth watching. Destiny brings up, I think he brings up a killer argument, which is that he basically says, if the way that you got this information from Twitter, if you got the information through the same way from the FBI or the CIA, would you trust that it hadn't been monkeyed with?
Yeah, or even from ExxonMobil or
ExxonMobil, right? Yeah. Now, personally,
Philip
I'm
Morris,
leaning
right?
towards intuitively. I think they probably didn't monkey with the information. I don't really have a strong evidentiary basis for that. But I could be wrong. I think, to me, the real crazy part is like near the end of the conversation. I thought it was totally wild. Was one of the journalists basically asserted that they had evidence that the FBI gaslit Twitter into getting rid of the Hunter Biden story, and then he doesn't actually provide the evidence. He just starts shouting that they have evidence for it based on the coincidences of the timeline. And to me, if you're a journalist and you're doing that, that's real bad. I think you have to look strictly at the facts. He didn't say like, well, maybe. He was just saying, no, it definitely happened. And I was like, wow, to me, that was a wild interaction. But anyway, I'd recommend it. Very interesting conversation.
I mean, the only way you could really get around not knowing you're being gaslit is if he picked someone who had, someone who he trusts that said that he could say to these are all of the files and you can just go through them, because the whole idea that you have to search for it, and that's a weird way to go about things. Because
the problem with that, I know what you're saying. Like the only way to like quote unquote confirm that they didn't get, that they got everything was for them to get complete access to search themselves.
Well, not even search themselves, just to be able to look at random. Like
right.
You don't even know what you're searching for.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that that's what the FTC was attacking Twitter for. They're not. They can't do that by law. Yeah, because there's all sorts of private information that they can't just hand over to the journalists.
But a Twitter employee could look through it, correct? I'm assuming that they're not allowed to give that information to a journalist. But
yeah, but supposedly that's what the Twitter employees were doing, right?
So you can't. Yeah, I don't. This is the thing. I guess you got to get the lawyers involved to figure it out, because
right. Well, I'm sure Twitter did. I mean,
that's weird.
Twitter is lucky. It's funny because there were two things that were big that I think came out in that conversation with Destiny, that both sides of the narrative are very fortunate that like the mainstream media doesn't watch people's streams, because they would have a field day with this. The first was Destiny basically got them to admit, or seeming to admit, that no one on the Twitter files ever asked for comment from the FBI or any of the sources that they were indicting.
That was insane. That was insane.
In these things. And for a journalist to not ask someone who's the subject of a story for a comment is like so egregiously wild.
Why not just do an interview with the FBI? I would want to. I would want to talk to the people who had.
Well, I could believe the FBI would decline it, right?
I don't think they're allowed to decline it. They're a government organization.
What do you mean? Of course they are. Wait, no, I don't think that's true. I think they're 100% allowed to decline it. But to not even ask, or not even ask like Elvis Chan or Yoel Roth or any of these people, is wild, right? I mean, they're not even working with the FBI anymore. Well, Yoel Roth never worked with the FBI. But anyway, to not ask for a commentary from any of the subjects, if that's true, to me, that's so egregious. And I'm shocked. Like, if anyone on the left-wing media watched Destiny, that would have been the narrative for like a month to discredit the Twitter files. What's that? But there was something that would have the other side of the issue that the left would have had a field day with. Well, I guess not the other side, but the left would have had a field day with, which is in the course of the conversation, the Twitter Files journalist was explaining that for some of the information they were getting regarding like looking at whether people were shadow banned or something, the way that it would work procedurally would be they'd be in a literal room with the Twitter engineer who would look up the person's account on a computer in front of them, and the Twitter engineer would just hold their hand up on the screen to block the private information out. So the journalist could look at the screen without seeing the private information. And I was thinking, they're so lucky no one from the FTC is listening to Destiny streams. Because I'm pretty sure that's probably like a gold mine for an FTC violation or something.
Yeah, that seems pretty weird. If
I was like, holy shit.
If Twitter got hacked, and I guess they would go after them for losing. The FTC would still fine them for losing.
Well, it would depend if they were negligent in how they were hacked.
Okay. Well, if that's my question. If Twitter got hacked and all of this information was disseminated on the internet by some third-party hacker, journalists would be able to comb through it and write whatever stories they want then.
Yes.
Without any kind of FTC violation.
Yes.
It's so weird. I don't understand how the FTC
what do you mean? What's weird about that?
How can they not? It just seems like, I don't know how this information is being stored, but it seems like you could separate if all they're doing is blocking out the user data at the top, it seems like you could take that out and give them all of the documents without any user information. It seems like that's a doable thing.
I don't know what exactly is the private information that they're not allowed to share under the law.
Yeah.
They would have to. They have emails with people's names on it, so.
I'm sure people are using names in the emails, so.
Right, but they're allowed to do that because they're doing that. So I don't know exactly what the data is that they're not supposed to show. It's probably like your birthday. It's like when you're signing up for Twitter and you put all that information in.
Oh yeah.
In your account and your phone number. I'm sure like a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. The thing is, I'm guessing like when whoever created the program at Twitter to keep all this information, it was not designed so like, hey, in the event that we need to share this information with journalists, censor out specific things, right? Like, I don't know if there's a way to do that en masse. And in order to do it, like, by each email, each account would be, like, impossible because there's just so many people.
All this stuff ends up in a database, though. So it would be possible to do.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know the logistics of it.
You just take out the field. When it's in database format, you just take out the name field and the birthday, whatever field that is the personal information.
It depends how the program works. It might not be that simple.
Yeah, okay.
Listen, we'll have a chatbot do this all in the future.
Computers can't do computers don't know how to do that. Computers can do that? Computers can do anything.
I said it depends on the program.
Yeah, but you can use a database in whatever program you want. You can write your own program for the database. All databases is a file with stuff. It's like a spreadsheet.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But it depends on the program. But anyway.
PC for $10.
PC for $10 says, Adam, is the argument that higher interest rates equal higher bond payments equal more money equals inflation that might miss higher interest rates, reduce borrowing, less money, and interest money unlikely to equal new production?
Right, but first of all, that's exactly right, PC. But those two opposing forces can have different outcomes depending upon where on the dial they are. Like, is the higher interest rate disincentivizing enough for new borrowing, weighed against the higher interest rates making people feel richer and going out and spending more money? So, because look, I shared a thing on Twitter today, and this is another reason to buy the bank stocks, because this is like free money for the banks. Basically, they're paying interest rates on bank reserves, and the higher the interest rate is, the more money they're giving to the banks, which is just like, it's free money. And if the bank wants to build look, we got all this free money. Let's build a new skyscraper. That's inflationary, right?
Right.
Because they got to get all the
But aren't people
steel
going
and
to
all
take
that.
out less loans because of higher interest rates?
See, those are the two forces opposed to one another. Maybe.
Right.
Look, if I have a good business opportunity that I think I'm gonna make a new widget and make a killing, the interest rate is not going to stop me. Like, my time to strike is now. I'm going to complain about it. I'm going to be like, oh, wow, I could have got a loan so much cheaper, a month ago or 2 months ago, but I'm still going to do it. Yeah. And this is the thing. I think the GDP numbers just came out. We're at 3%. That's 3 to 5% is good for GDP, right?
Based.
Yeah. So, all right.
Forking around for $5.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Forking
around for $5
$5
says, well, even though I disagree on some of your takes, thanks for having the conversation. I look forward to the future talks. Big fan either way. Well, thank you, Forkin.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much.
We enjoy doing it, and we enjoy your guys enjoying it. So
yeah, I'm glad we did this. We had good, interesting conversations with all the people that called in.
Sure. And we did it in under 2 hours. Can you believe it?
There you go. Well, 4 hours. Anyways, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for incredibly generous donations. Thank you for all your amazing fan art. Thank you for those of you who had the cojones to call in and talk to us face to face. And thank you who have listened to this entire stream. You are the true heroes. You are the true Fable Seekers. And we'll see you all on Sunday.
Bye-bye!
And of course, thanks to CT for managing this conversation. She did a great job.
Of course. Thanks to our producer, CT. You were amazing.
Amazing.